Thank you, my colleagues, for your patience. We have now returned from recess. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation Housing Committee will continue its discussion on Bill 282-35. My colleagues, we are moving into, we are now in Chapter 3, Part 1, under Health, Guam Memorial Hospital Authority. We do have in the audience joining us is also the administrator of GMH, and we have the Sergeant Arm ready to give the oath for the administrator. Ma'am, if you can please stand up so we can see you from GMH, please. You're far away. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, no problem. Tom, are you ready, Tom? Let's go, Sergeant Arm.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, Ms. Posadas, can I have you raise your right hand?
Sure.
Okay. Under a penalty of perjury, do you affirm that any and all information that you provide, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, she is under oath.
All right, ma'am, I know you have your staff with you, and I'm just wondering if we just swear them all in just in the event you wanted them to give input to assist you in your response. Would you like that, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Tom, why don't we get the other folks, and if they can please identify themselves so we know who we're swearing in.
Okay. And who would that be, Mr. Chair?
Yuka Hechanova, the acting CFO.
Okay, one.
This is Don Rabanal, Assistant Administrator for Admin Services.
Okay.
Two.
Rodolyn Gerardo, Internal Auditor.
Three.
That's it for now, sir. The others are on other meetings.
All right. Okay, thank you. Sergeant Arm, if you can please administer the oath.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the three of you, can I have you stand and raise up your right hand, please? Okay. Under penalty of perjury, do you all affirm that any and all information that you provide, whether it be verbally, electronically, and in writing, be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you all God?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair, they're all under oath.
All right. All right, thank you. Ma'am,
Mr. Chair?
Administrator, there was an additional person brought in, so if you can please identify who that person is so we just all know.
I was just going to say that. Mr. William Kando, he's the Associate Administrator of Operations.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Now we will begin the Chapter 3, Part 1, Guam Memorial Hospital Authority, and we have your oversight chair, Senator Therese Terlai. And if you want to start a little bit of the discussion, it's really only 2 pages. I guess there's other parts for it, but
Yep.
if you can, ma'am, and then we can start with GMH.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you very much, Administrator Lillian and team. Thank you to all of you for the work that you've been doing over this health emergency. And I understand we might have some sad news today, but just want to thank you for all your work. And I know that you've been dealing with lots of challenges, including shortage of nurses, shortage of facility upgrades that you might need. And so I just want to thank you again. So we're just going to talk about the budget today. And so you had a chance to review the substitute bill, Lillian?
Yes, ma'am, I have 2 pages.
All right, yeah, very short for GMH. Okay, so that's good. We won't keep you here long, hopefully. But so the GMH, this substitute bill gives GMH $29,783,198 total. That includes the $1 million line of credit. And but without the line of credit, if we took the 1 million out, it is still 758,000 more than what was appropriated during the current fiscal year FY20 for operations. So I wanted to just recognize the efforts of the Office of Finance and Budget for the prioritizing the hospital as they have in this budget, as we tried to do in last year's budget. And of course, we appropriated 10 million last year, was supposed to be from the FY19 excess revenues. We haven't seen the audit yet as of today, but I wanted to ask you again for the record, if you've received the 10 million from that was appropriated in last year's budget.
No, ma'am, we did not receive it. And I have our acting CFO verify and confirm that we did not get $10 million.
All right. Okay. I have just a couple of questions, Mr. Chair. Would you like me to proceed with that, or? Yeah, let me just.
Yes, please, please proceed with that, ma'am.
All right, thanks. So one is, so did GMH receive the payments that it was that was owed to it from the Department of Corrections, and is for FY20?
We received some.
Yes.
Yes, we received some of the payments. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so do you believe that that is on schedule and that it will not become like the problem that came up in the past, where it was past due for so long that you were unable to collect?
Correct. Mhm.
So you're up to date for FY20 Department of Corrections. And Mr. Chair, can you just confirm that Department of Corrections obligation to GMH is included in this budget for FY21? It would be
that would be
the
further
DOC
down.
section.
It'll
Yeah,
probably
it's in
be
the
further
DOC
down.
section. Yes.
We'll get back with you on that
Right.
one. I'll work that with Steve so we can find that, because I have to go through the whole
right.
rest of the
Okay.
budget.
Oh yeah, thanks. Okay, and then the other one is, what about, so the past debt from DOC, were you able to collect on all of that, or are there still portions that are due and collectible?
Still due, and I'm not sure if it's collectible, because my understanding is that those were for prior budgets, and so therefore by law, we cannot collect from them.
Okay, so what amount might that be?
Oh, gosh, was it 3 million? Something like 3 million.
All right, and what amount are you still waiting that you think you're going to receive?
For this fiscal year, they've been,
For the past?
that's the amount, 3 million?
Okay, so you're saying all of the past is uncollectible?
Yes, correct.
All of them, okay. And so, all right, my other question is regarding just the financial impact that GMH has experienced over this emergency. When you had to shift patients, non-COVID patients away from the hospital, will you be experiencing a shortfall for FY20?
We think so, because we suspended elective surgery, and that's a revenue generating, area. We suspended outpatient services, and that's another revenue generating area for the hospital. So we're going to be losing out on revenues.
All right, so no lapses that you're expecting for sure?
I don't think so. No, ma'am.
Okay, so, but possible shortfall. All right, and then my other question is regarding the line of credit. So in this substitute bill, it provides that there will be a 1 million appropriated from the Healthy Futures Fund to GMH for the sole and specific purpose of funding the line of credit pursuant to GCA 80109. This is a statute that has authorized for many years a line of credit for GMH. It's been used in the past, but not recently, to my knowledge. It allows for borrowing up to 25 million and up to 25 years. But could you tell us what this would be used for? And how much are we looking to borrow?
We're not looking to borrow.
All right.
We're not looking to borrow.
Is this something? Are you familiar with this provision? Is this something you are requesting?
We had asked about it, but we've not used that line of credit.
All right. All right. If the, okay, so I don't know, Mr. Chair, who can answer for this line of credit? I want to know, I would want to ask what the purpose is going to be for. Now this budget is short of your request. It's short of the request, yet it exceeds the fiscal year 2020. So what would the proceeds of this line of credit be needed for? I think we're short about, from your request, it's short about, gosh, I don't remember if it was 400 some thousand.
About 400, 500, I think.
But yeah, this would be pledging a payment, I think, of $1 million for borrowing of a greater amount. All right. Mr. Chair, maybe if OFB could speak to that part.
Yes, yes. Steve, if you can speak to that part, I was about to ask you as you were moving along in your questions. Steve, if you can talk about the line of credit and on how they can. Oh, I'm concerned about why they're not getting paid from DOC or from anybody else. That's what I'm really concerned about. And how's the collection coming along from revenue and tax on the tax refund? That's what I like to know, and hopefully that's moving along quite well and get them the funds they need.
Yeah, I believe they paid off revenue tax. Is that correct, Lillian?
Yes,
Or Mr.
ma'am, we
Sada?
paid that off in June. The
No, I wasn't.
2018 withholding taxes that we owed and the penalties were waived, we paid.
No, I wasn't referring to you paying revenue tax. I was referring to how it's set up where GMH will get the, when somebody owes and they have a tax refund, that you get that money. That's what I'm really more concerned, is that they're going out there and collecting from the folks that owe taxes, that owe GMH. I wasn't referring to anything else. I'm more in trying to find a way to get you more money for GMH. That's what I was looking for. And the issue also with DOC, you provide a service to DOC, you expected to get the money. At least, gosh, pay half, and then we can move along and try to figure out how to get the rest. But to not pay you and you have a $3 million shortfall, that doesn't send a good message. You know, people perform a service, you need to get paid for that.
Amen.
But Steve, if you can answer that question.
Yes, Senator. Initially, when we started working with the budget with the administration, BBMR, this is one of the provisions they provided and asked us to go ahead and incorporate into the bill. I'm under the assumption, based on what Senator Talai said, that there was some sort of an attempt where there will be a request to establish some sort of line of credit to help the hospital. I guess in its operation, there are limitations on how this line of credit can be used, but that basically is the extent of my familiarization with this $1 million appropriation.
All right.
Thank you. All right. To the GMH team, are you currently paying for any past lines of credit?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I just wanted to point out, Mr. Chair, that, you know, what the spreadsheet that we received from BBMR was allocating $6.5 million less to GMH than what you've been able to do in this substitute bill. And so, again, I'm hoping that this is going to be able to sustain GMH for the year. It doesn't appropriate for capital improvement projects. I'm still hoping that you're going to get that money, the 10 million, and that, and I've seen that the governor has also allocated some of the compact impact funds and the Department of Interior funds also to the hospital. So I'm very grateful for those. And that's it for my questions, Mr. Chair. I know that there are amendments, so I'll reserve and speak on those. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm very concerned about the 10 million because all my colleagues that voted for the budget, that was our understanding that GMH will get the 10 million to help the capital improvement. And I know GMH, all the staff there, they do a great job. There's no doubt about that, because I bring my parents there. Gosh, if you got a card there that says freaking flyer, my dad and my mom would be on that list. And you know, great job. And I'd really like to see how we can help GMH in whatever they need to do. But I'm very concerned about DOC. And I go back to DOC. If there's a bill they need to pay, we need to figure that out when we get to DOC on how to make sure the money does get to GMH. You can't be, it's bad enough already. You have patients that can't pay the bill. We have a government entity. We need to close that loop. Is there any questions before? I know that Senator Torres does have an amendment, ma'am. So we're going to begin with you, Senator Torres, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As pointed out by the oversight chair, there was that $1 million appropriation inserted into the budget that hasn't been in the budget for the last several fiscal years. And it's also my understanding, as the hospital also affirmed, that the previous line of credit was paid off by GMH in 2016. And this is reflected also in Gita's latest debt abstract at about page 152. So now we understand that GMH does not expect to borrow in fiscal year 2021. And so what I'd like to do is, you know, not only do they not expect to borrow, but in fact, they have perhaps borrowed up to their borrowing limit of 25 million.
All clear.
Yes,
Sorry.
I know that in 2014, there was a $24 million loan that GMH took out that has a maturity date of 2024. So they're, you know, they have still outstanding debt that they need to do. So a line of credit, in addition to that, is probably not the case. So what I'd like to do, Mr. Chair, is with all the dialogue in the past few days about the dire need of GMH, of public health, I'd like to propose an amendment, and it's been uploaded, to strike out on page 32, section 5, part 1, chapter 3, which is the language regarding the GMHA line of credit. Because I believe that since there is no line of credit, whatever was outstanding has already been paid. And there's no expectation of an additional line of credit over the current loan, that this money can be better used where it is in dire need right now. So my amendment is to strike out section 5 in its entirety on page 32.
All right. Does anyone would like to speak to that? I have Senator Therese. Thank you, Senator Torres.
Thank you again. Thank you to the sponsor of the amendment. Yes, I think that if, especially with you know what GMH is sharing with us today, that we're not necessarily opposed to borrowing for capital improvement projects for GMH, but if there is $10 million in excess funds available, that should be made available first. And that this borrowing will definitely, it's going to impact our debt ceiling. And I think that we should consider it maybe as a standalone measure if it's necessary. I know that task force, I think it's a task force or a committee or a working group that's supposed to get together to discuss the you know, borrowing and the financing of the new hospital and the improvements to the current hospital has not met yet, to my knowledge. But I know, you know, that. So I'm just saying, I think this amendment is not harmful to GMH at this time, and very beneficial to public health that is in great need in their budget, I think. And I think that if we are going to impact the debt ceiling in this way, yeah, that we should just consider it by itself. I want to also know exactly what the purpose of the borrowing would be. Is it going to be for operations, for capital improvement, or the law allows it to be used for cash shortages? So that's why I would like to be very specific And again, yeah, do everything we can to ensure that GMH is getting the money that was owed to them from elsewhere as well. And I do want to also acknowledge that I believe the Attorney General has been assisting GMH in collections, and but they still have challenges collections. I think you also have a council, a new council. Is that correct? And so that they are working on their collections, but there still are issues, especially with those that they are unable to pay. But so I guess that's all I have to say on that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else like to speak to that amendment? Senator Luis Munoz, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank the author of this amendment. That was one of my questions about this $1 million and a line of credit. And if that would even, if it would even assist GMH, I know they need all the help they can get, but if they're not in the means at this moment of borrowing, then we shouldn't even have it there. And if this amendment is successful, I'd like, maybe just for the body to consider, since it's coming from the Healthy Futures Fund, to put it into the Guam Cancer Trust Fund, where just to make them a little bit more whole. But I do rise in support of this amendment. And maybe even Mr. Guerrero can if this has already been calculated into this amount, this $1 million has been calculated from the Healthy Futures Fund. I guess that would be a question for him too as well.
All right, Steve, do you, is that a question posed to Steve?
For Steve, yes.
Steve?
Yes, this $1 million is part of the appropriation out of the Healthy Future Fund for FY21.
Okay, wonderful, great. Thank you so much. And so before anybody grabs onto it, if there's an opportunity for it to go into the Guam Cancer Trust Fund, I would really, I know. I support this amendment because of that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Senator Luis. I know Senator Tello, you're waving, but Senator Torres, the author of the amendment, did you want to respond to that? Or is there a need to respond at this time, ma'am?
I just want to repeat that my intentions are to have one amendment and a subsequent amendment. So that $1 million, as I mentioned, is will in a second amendment will be earmarked for public health. And specifically, we know that they don't even have enough to match the Medicaid matching and the Children's Health Insurance Program match funds. So my intention with doing this is to find some relief for public health, as as has been mentioned and pleaded for the past few days. So
all right.
I would respectfully ask that my two amendments be addressed first.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it will be. Senator Tello, you waved your hand. Did you have a question to the amendment? Any comments to the amendment?
Yes, actually, I would like to ask Mrs. Posadas question with regards to that. Even though this was a line of credit and your intention was not to use it to borrow anything, is it something that you would like to see stay at Guam Memorial Hospital, the funding, if you're not going to use it there, and just put it in your operations?
Sure, we'll take. We'll take it. Absolutely. There's always something for us to use it for.
Okay.
All right,
thank you.
That answered that. Thank you, Senator Tello. Does anyone else? I'm looking out if there are any hands. I don't see any hands. Senator Lee, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to mention that I'm in full support of this amendment. I think you've charged us all with going back every time we're in recess, every time we finish for the night, to go back and do our homework. So I want to thank the proffer of this amendment for doing her homework, for providing us with a solution that doesn't necessarily cut from anywhere, but this is money that can, go to a really good purpose to fill that gap and fill that hole at public health. So I just, in the spirit of working together and trying to find solutions to these gaps and our dire needs, especially during this pandemic. I really want to thank Senator Torres for her leadership here, and I support this amendment. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Senator Lee. I'm looking at, I don't see any other hands up there. Are there any objection to the amendment? So we can do the roll call and or any further comments, and so we can go to the roll call of the amendment. I don't see any. Joe, let's do the roll call and let's vote on this amendment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment by Senator Torres for page 32, lines 1 through 3, Chairman San Agustin?
Aye.
Chairman San Agustin, aye. Vice Chair Rangel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Rangel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton?
Again.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munoz-Barnes?
She may be having some technical difficulties. She did text me that she's going in and out and she's maybe losing connection. So we get a motion to excuse her if she's having problems. Senator Shelton, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to excuse members not present.
Are there any objection to that motion?
No, Mr.
Senator
Chair,
Lee?
it's just if we could try to circle back with the speaker once the rest of us have completed voting, if she's able to log on at that time and register her vote then. But I have no objection to Senator Shelton's
Okay,
motion.
so we'll go down the list and then we'll circle back on her.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Lee?
Hungen.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Lahi?
Hungen.
Senator Therese Lahi, aye. Senator Piro Talahi?
Hungen, por favor.
Senator Piro Talahi, aye. Senator March Taitano?
Again.
Senator March Taitano, aye. Senator Castro?
Hungen.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan?
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munya?
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson?
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez?
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres?
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. Senator Taitagui?
With a heavy heart, again.
Senator Taitagui, aye. Speaker Munoz-Barnes?
Hungen.
Speaker Munoz-Barnes, aye. Mr. Chair, the motion, or the amendment, I'm sorry, received 15 aye votes.
Thank you, my colleagues. The motion passes. It'll be engrossed into the budget. Does anyone else have any? I don't see any other amendment in place. That being said, there's no other motion. I only have a few questions for GMH and maybe come up with a possible estimate. On the GMH side, I know that you have a wealth of patients that don't pay or can't pay, and you're expecting some relief from the collections during the tax refund program. Do you have an estimate of what you could collect through that process? Have you been communicating with Revenue and Tax to find out? I'm just curious if that's in the making right now.
Yes, we're regularly updating our listing of garnishments to Rev and Tax. We're trying to make it more current. It used to be about every 6 months. Now we're trying to make it more quarterly. So the last listing we sent out was about I think it was about $45 million worth of receivables that we did send to DRT.
Okay, and how's the flow been, the response from them as they get the refunds going through? What has been the return from that update? I mean, are you getting like 5 million a pop or something like that? I'm just trying to get a warm and fuzzy feeling of how the response has been based on the refunds.
It really varies, and depending on the time of year, I guess, when they actually can garnish. It's not $5 million a pop.
Well, I just said that. I apologize. I didn't mean it that way. I wish it was too.
From what I'm seeing now recently, because I guess people have been filing their taxes, we've been getting about 100, maybe 100,000 or so a week. And then there are times when perhaps when there are no tax filings and we don't get as much, but the past few weeks it's been a little bit more than normal.
All right, and are any of the collection associated to any of the detainees or temporary detainees at DOC? Because some of them may be still a government employee, still employed, they're just being detained, and they receive any medical attention. I'm just curious if anything impacts that they still got a job and they're still paying. So I'm just curious if any, have you run into any of those?
Not to my knowledge, because the listing we're sending to DRT is strictly those that are on self-pay, that do not have insurance, and that there's nobody else that we can bill.
Okay, now I'm going to lead on to the next question, which will lead into the insurance. How's been the insurance response to all the claims that you have submitted? Have you been getting a good response and good good response generally on all your claims?
We have our challenges. There are just things that we have to deal with, and there's different issues for the different insurances. It's no secret that we have issues with Take Care because they've been out of network since March. We have a few issues now with Aetna. We've had them for almost a whole year. And we're still trying to iron out the denials and things with them. It depends on the situation. Different insurance companies have different situations that we have to deal with them. But we are trying our best to keep that communication open, to meet with them regularly, to deal with the specific issues that we do have with each of them so we can collect. And when we meet with them, it is very productive.
All right. Now, at the same token, as other agencies, when they they send a bill to anyone, may it be through the refunds or the insurance, is there a penalty for not paying the bill on time and interest and stuff like that? I'm just curious if that mechanism is in place with GMH.
No, sir. No interest right now.
No interest right now. Okay. Whoa. Okay. And as the clock ticks, okay, I'm not gonna go any further on that one. I can imagine the financial burden to the patients. I can see that. Is there any of my colleagues would like to ask any questions to Senator Tello? I see your hand, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to know, there was mention of a shortfall earlier. Is there kind of a guesstimate? I'm sure we're not at the end of the fiscal year right now, but was there a number that was stated, an estimate of how much of a shortfall that will be?
So far, it looks like it's about between 4 to 5 million, and this is just comparing to last year, about the same time of our revenue losses.
4 to 5 million.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, thank you.
All right, thank you. There being no further questions, Senator Teresa, and we'll go ahead and we'll close up of GMH.
Yeah, I just want to mention this while GMH is here. So there's a later portion of the bill that talks about revised fees. And so I don't know, I guess I'm just going to give them notice that we might call you back at that time just to talk about that, if that's okay with you. All right, Mr. Chair, it's back in the miscellaneous provisions. Yeah. All right.
Are they okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Posadas, and all your staff, and for all your employees for what they do. They do a great job. I have to admit that like I say, I go there often enough with my parents, other than the COVID now. But I really hope for the best, and may God bless you and all you do. And I hope for your staff to be as safe as possible. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be safe. Now we will now, my colleagues will move now to page 33. We are now in chapter 3, health of part 2, which is the Department of Public Health and Social Services. And being that we're in that chapter, we are now going to move to Senator Therese. We do have an amendment proffered by Senator Torres. If we can go ahead and proceed, Senator Therese. And do we have the, I guess we don't have them, public health folks, but Senator Torres, if you would offer the
Mr.
proffer the
Chair.
amendment. Yes, who's that?
We,
I'm looking
we do
Joe?
have Mr. Taitzigui, the
Okay,
ASO
good.
for the Department of Public Health. Just as a reminder, he has been sworn under oath, or he has taken his oath
Yes.
at the beginning of this week.
Yes, Tommy, please be reminded of that. You have been sworn in already, so just to remind you of that. All right, Senator Torres, we will proceed with your amendment. All right, my colleagues, Senator Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The second amendment is to appropriate the $1 million to the Department of Public Health and Social Services. We are all aware that and believe that we've established that public health is in dire need of additional funding. They've been cut approximately $35 million in this budget bill, and the agency has stated that they are unable to match both the Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program. So while we can believe that $1 million is not very much, this pledges some support to one of our most critical agencies that by providing an actual appropriation. The amendment, therefore, to page 33 will increase the Healthy Futures Fund amount to of $13,388,503 to $14,388,503. And then, a corresponding increase to the total amount appropriated. And I simply would like to thank my colleagues, first of all, for their support of the First Amendment, and I would very much appreciate their support on this amendment. It is one step closer to helping those that are truly the most vulnerable in our community can be aided by this small appropriation to public health. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone would like to speak to that motion, that amendment? I'm looking out for hands. Senator Amanda Shelton, and then followed by Senator Therese Terlai.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I'd like to thank the author of the amendment for this amendment to assist public health. I think all of us took the pledge early on in this budget bill that we would do anything we could and support any measure to prioritize public health given the crisis that we are in. And I think the daily results that we see with COVID positive cases and the recent deaths in our community is just a sobering fact today that this is absolutely necessary. And so I thank the author and I rise in full support.
Thank you, Senator Shelton. Senator Therese, ma'am, you had your hand up, and you're the oversight of that agency.
Yeah, just wanted to confirm, Mr. Taitzigui, is the director with you? He said he was going to be with you.
No, he's on the phone right now with legal, and has been on the phone actually since I came on board.
All right. Maybe if we could just wait for a little while, Mr. Chair. And what about, and they said Tess is going to get on the Zoom also, but Tess Archangel. But as to the amendment, yes, absolutely. I support this amendment as we talked about earlier. Public health is overall, OFB was able to give them a little bit more than last year for Medicaid and MIP, especially MIP. However, those are the amounts allocated in this bill for Medicaid and CHIP still amount to about $9 million, $9.8 million short to give us our full potential of federal matching funds. And I'm afraid that this is the year that we're really going to need that. And Ms. Archangel, if she's here, she's not here yet, but she was very confident that we are able to use all of the Medicaid that we can apply for. So I'm confident about that too, Mr. Chair. So this 1 million will definitely go a little ways towards that gap, and also their bigger gap, which is operations gap, Mr. Chair. It's about 13 million in operations. And I know that BBMR had tried to readjust the budget by their spreadsheet and to give public health about $14 million additional by cutting from other agencies. I'm still hoping that we're going to be able to find the balance because it's very critical. But thank you for this amendment. Yes, and I support this amendment, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else? I'm looking if there's any hand. I don't see. Senator Tello, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't stand in objection to this amendment at all. I just want to know, we're incorporating, this amendment has us incorporating it into their, from the Healthy Futures Fund on page 30.
That's correct. Yeah, that's where it came from, yeah.
Does it say where is the plan to have a subsequent amendment after that to determine where that funding is going to be appropriated to on the other pages? Like, is it going to go direct to MIP or Medicaid program or health insurance, or is that going to be left up to the director? So the intention of that, so may I ask the author if there was any intention to make it go to a certain program at all, like MIP, or was it up to the discretion of the director?
Well, I was simply being consistent in the transfer of Healthy Futures Fund from one appropriation in GMH to public health. Clearly, the Healthy Futures Fund and the use of that for the Medicaid and CHIP is just one. It's one line of dialogue, but certainly we know that is one area where they're short, so most likely we'll apply this to. But no, I didn't make an arrangement with public health in any way. I mean, it was just strictly shoring up that fund a little bit.
I think that the oversight chair has something. Go ahead, Senator Treese.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just like to suggest that on my quick review of the bill, the language in the bill, that if just leaving it, the amendment as is, would allow them to use it for operations or Medicaid. And we are also proposing some amendments to give them a little bit of flexibility in that regard. So I'm hoping that will be, because the first section 1 says for operations and then we're going to add some language for flexibility. I'm hoping. Thank you.
All right. So does that answer that, Senator Tello?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other question? I see there's no other hand. Joe, why don't we do the roll call and let's vote on this amendment and let's make this happen for Department of Public Health, and then we can discuss anything further. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment by Senator Mary Torres, page 33, lines 1 to 25. Chairman San Agustin?
Aye.
Chairman San Agustin, aye. Vice Chair Vigel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Vigel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton?
Again.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes?
Again.
Speaker Munya Barnes, aye. Senator Lee?
Again.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Talahi?
Again.
Senator Therese Talahi, aye. Senator Pito Talahi?
Again, por favor.
Senator Pito Talahi, aye. Senator Marsh Taitunu?
Again.
Senator Marsh Taitunu, aye. Senator Castro?
Again.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moreland?
Senator Moreland?
I think we have lost him, sir.
All right, we'll come around to him again and we'll try and we'll hope he gets back on.
Thank you. Senator Munya?
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson?
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez?
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres.
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. Senator Taitugui.
Again.
Senator Taitugui, aye.
We're still waiting for Senator Moore. Otherwise, Senator Tyree, if you want to make a motion so that we can excuse Senator Moore because of our technical, we'll give it a couple more seconds, maybe, couple minutes, maybe, if you like.
About, give him about 30 seconds, I think. Just trying to log in right now.
All right, yes, no, we'll give him the 30 seconds. There's not a problem there. Joe, do you see Senator Jim trying to get back on?
I believe he is logged on at this time, Mr. Chair. He may have just stepped away. I don't see his video at this time, though.
Yeah, his phone is busy, so.
Yeah. I think what's happening is he's using his phone now because of the internet connection where he's at is very bad. So he's going to his phone. So it's going to be hard for him to. Just sent him a text. So I don't know if that's going to work because he's on his phone.
Joe, do you see him coming back on so we can get? Oh, there you go. There's Senator Jim. Yeah, we can ask him for his vote. Joe.
Senator Jim Moylan. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Senator Joe. Can I just do one pass, please?
Thank you.
Am I the last one? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't need
Jim
to
Moylan.
Aye.
Senator Jim Moylan, aye. Mr. Chair, you have 5 ayes on the amendment.
We have how many ayes? 15?
I'm sorry, yes. You have 15 ayes on the amendment.
All right, thank you. The amendment passes. That would be engrossed into the budget bill. Moving along, we have other amendments. I'm just trying to see the sequence. I have run from, I guess, Senator Tello. I have 2, one in line 1, page 33, and then one is line 11, page 38. I don't know if the line 38, on page 38, you want to continue on with that one when that has been resolved on the charter school. So you may want to only ask for the increase, the rollover, if I'm correct. Right, Senator Tello?
Right.
But we'll start with the page 33, Senator Tello. Okay, we'll start with the one on page 33, line 1. And I think you identified where you want to put some of the money, I guess.
Well, no, here I think if anything, there really wasn't. It was just the well. First, I greatly appreciate what Senator Lai has done, as well as the other senators, Marsh Taitano and Senator Amanda Shelton, who's helped with regarding the charter schools and to try and make them whole. So I'd like to thank them and all my colleagues who voted for those amendments for the Guam Academy charter schools. So that being said, Mr. Chair, the only amendment I have for this section is on page, I put it on the chat, by the way, so everyone can see it. DPHSS 2020 continuation, copy of the amendment that I'd like to proffer. And that's going to be on page 38, Mr. Chair. So I don't know if we're going to need an amendment on page 33 to adjust it, because this is just a continuation. Mr. Chair. So if I may, talk about the amendment?
Yes, if you can, and this is the one that's on line 16, page 38. Am I correct? For the rollover of the 800,000, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. It's the one that everyone should have on their chat. Yeah.
All right.
Senator,
I don't.
Was this amendment sent to the drive or to the email, ma'am?
Yes, this was sent. It should be on the drive. It's the same one, Joe, that I put on the chat. So if you just look at the one on the chat, click that one open, and you should.
Okay, and while my colleagues are looking through this, we're going through. That would be the only amendment left for up to page 38. All right, so we have that understanding when we get to page 38. Yeah, it'll move 800,000 onto their to roll over, which comes up to a certain amount of 1.4, I think, something like that for public health. They keep all the money, the rollover, and plus the money that the funds that were identified in their appropriation of 760,000.
So if I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. For the sake of time, thank you, Mr. Chair. And my colleagues, this amendment was discussed earlier yesterday. And it's simply because of the situation of the COVID, it basically put brakes on this foster care home to move forward. And in fact, it was utilized. I like to think that sometimes something as good as this that's built is made for other circumstances like COVID to help during this crisis. And this foster care home is definitely something that we've all been waiting for many, many years, especially the Regalu Foundation that I'd like to mention. They've worked very hard in raising funding for this home, and it's almost there. We just have to ensure, and I'm glad that Tommy's here and Tess Archangel, that we are so behind this that we're hoping that you push the Attorney General's office, and anything that I could do, my office can do, and I'm sure the other senators will be backing you up to make sure they get that RFP out ASAP to move forward on that. So this amendment is on line 16, page 38, and it's to add a new section to the bill, and it reads, foster care group home continuing appropriations, Section 17 of Part 2, Chapter 3, Public Law 35-36 is amended to read, Section 17, foster group home, the sum of $800,000 is appropriated from the general fund to the Department of Public Health and Social Service for the operation of the Gumanasi Sister Marie Bridget Paris RSM Group Child Care Home, and underlining, stating nothing, notwithstanding any other provisions of law, this appropriation shall continue to be available until September 30th, 2021, and is not subject to transfer of use of any other purpose. So other than that, Mr. Chair, I know everybody knows how important this amendment is to health and moving forward. And not only does it allow them to reach the goal of their new budget that they've provided to us the other day at 1.4, but it gives them just a little bit more. I think it's about $78,000 more. And so, I don't think anybody wants to take that money away, considering, the cost of inflation or anything else that these children, the less fortunate, can be availed to. So I greatly appreciate everyone's support on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Senator Tello. I just want to make some clarification here because I know you wanted to appropriate it, but Steve, if we can get the right verbiage for that, because I think that we're trying to roll over that 800,000 from 2020 into 2021. So I'm not too sure if an appropriation with the right verbiage or the rollover. Remember, it was to carry over the 800,000 from 2020. I just want to make sure we're in line with that, and so that our whole goal is to make sure that they'll end up with on the foster care group home, it'll be 1,560,453,000. All right, I just want to make sure that we got the right verbiage because it's money that's in 2020. And it may be in sync to de-appropriate, but it may be just to roll over the 800,000. Okay, Senator Tello. All right, I'm gonna have Steve just double check it to make sure we get the right verbiage for it.
Absolutely. Maybe if we can take a minute so that Joe can check it out, make sure it's correct.
All right. Okay. So why don't we just Steve, are you ready? Are you checking it? And if anything, we can just pause for
Yes, Senator. I'm looking at it now. The difference between this language and other language we use to authorize the carryover is in this particular language, she is amending. You know, she is amending the current law that appropriates some money to foster care, and then adding in another sentence, notwithstanding that any available balance will be available until September 30th of 2021.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I just want to make sure that, all right. Thank you. Thank you. I'm in support of this move anyway. So Ms. Archangel, I see you got your hand up. You're not swearing in, but go ahead, ma'am. Can you unmute your computer? There you go, ma'am.
The difference is
Thank
she's
you.
amending
Thank
law.
you, Senator.
Go ahead.
If I may, can you hear me, Senator? If I
Yes,
may
yes.
suggest to roll over the funding until it's expended for its purpose, not to end the date, not to end a fiscal year.
Well, we're having it end on September 2021, and next year, I honestly believe that if most of us are still here, we'll continue rolling it. I mean, and I believe the people, whoever gets elected, is going to want to continue this program.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and we got Art here, Primo Art. Yeah, Art's and Augustine. Yes, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, members of the Guam Legislature. Yeah, I want to just express my gratitude, my appreciation for maintaining the level for 2021 and giving us the rollover to 2021 for the foster care group home, Sizos Masi, and we really appreciate your support this afternoon. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Art. So Senator Tello, that being said, that Steve said it's okay. We're taking it we're amending Public Law 3536 and moving it into the current budget bill 282-35. So it's in sync. It'll end up looking at the way it's written. I have a copy of the amendment that reflects the continue operations. I'm just trying to find where it adds it up to 1.5, and that's what I'm looking for in the amendment. I want to make sure that it reflects that total, so that when we end this section, we're not guessing that was our intent and it's not there. Okay, and that's what I'm concerned about. As I look at see, I got two different amendments. I got on yours, Tello. Your first amendment identified the sum of 800,000. It's coming from 3536. Okay, I guess if everybody's in sync and OB believes it's okay, then I'll work with that, and we want to make sure we show the 1.5, 560 and 453,000, and then we'll be good to go. All right.
Mr. Chair, as long as we don't touch the 760,000 that was appropriated.
That's correct.
Amendment reflecting the 800, it's just adding them together.
All right. Okay.
Steve says
unless
okay.
Steve said it's good, so we'll move on that. Are there any? I don't see any hands waving. Joe, why don't we take a roll call and let's vote and let's secure this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment by Senator Tello Taitugui on page 38, line 16. Chairman San Augustine?
Aye.
Chairman San Augustine, aye. Vice Chair Rigel?
Aye.
Vice Chair Rigel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton?
Again.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes?
Again.
Speaker Munya Barnes, aye. Senator Lee?
Again.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Teresa Lahi.
Ungan.
Senator Teresa Lahi, aye. Senator Peter Talahi.
Ungan.
Senator Peter Talahi, aye. Senator March Taitano.
Ungan.
Senator March Taitano, aye. Senator Castro.
Ungan.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan.
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munya.
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Senator Vice Speaker Nelson.
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez.
Ungan.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres.
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. And Senator Taitugui.
Ungan.
Senator Taitugui, aye. Mr. Chair, the amendment received 15 aye votes.
Right, thank you. Thank you, my colleagues. There's 15 ayes. Motion passes. Now, we're gonna move to, I received, and I hope everybody else received, we have two other amendments in this chapter or in this part. And it's on page, one is on line 1, page 34, and one is on line 15, page 36. Also, both by Senator Therese Terlahi. Ma'am, TMT, you're on. I'm gonna assume that this is how the money will be distributed. As soon as Senator Therese gets off the phone, we can get on business. Therese, you ready? Senator Therese, are you ready? We're gonna entertain your amendment on line
Thank you,
1,
Mr.
page
Chair.
34.
I'm trying to
Yes, ma'am.
simultaneously work on another amendment, but okay. So the first amendment is a quick address. It's line 22, page 31.
Line 22, page 21. Which one is that one? I'm looking for that amendment.
31.
I see a line 1, page 34, ma'am.
Wait, yeah, that's not right. It should be line, sorry, wait, let me see, 34, let me see that one.
Yep, and you also have a line 15 on page 36. You have two amendments, ma'am, I have in front of me.
Okay, so yes, okay, yeah, we'll start with it. We can start with this one. This is on page 34, line 1.
That's correct, ma'am.
Relative to the MIP, and I wanted to ask Tess this because she's the expert and I'm not. But so my amendment would be to remove a sentence in the MIP that says no more than 10% of the appropriations from local fund sources in this section is authorized to pay for the fiscal year 21 obligations of the MIP. And I was trying to get her answer prior to this, whether it's prudent to remove that line at this time. Is Tess still here? Do you see?
Yes, she is.
I'm still here.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Tess. Yeah.
Yes, Senator. I think it's best to remove that because especially if there's not enough MIP funding that's appropriated.
All right.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so that would be my amendment on that section, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so you want to go, we're going to go piece by piece, or you want to go ahead and just close it all up and add also the notwithstanding provision that you also identified, and then no more than 30%.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. That's why I'm confused. I thought there was more to that, but there it is. It's on the second page. Okay, so yes, and so I would, and this language here for a new subsection C would be to allow that flexibility. So they would allow any of the amounts that are currently appropriated for MIP to also be used for Medicaid. And I know that Department of Public Health and Social Services, they like to use Medicaid as much as possible, and that they will give us the best use of our funds if they are given some flexibility to do so. So this is to provide that flexibility. So it allows use of appropriations in this section for MIP for Medicaid also.
All right, and then you got one more section further down, which is the no more than, it's on line 24.
Yeah, this is a separate section.
30%.
This is the Medicaid section, and it again removes that line that says no more than 30% of the appropriation from local fund sources is authorized to pay for fiscal year 21 obligations of the Medicaid program. So I'm removing that restriction also, and just to give them absolute maximum flexibility for Medicaid and MIP, and to use them as needed in those two programs.
All right, thank you, Senator Therese. I don't see any hand waves. I believe that everybody understands what this program is for, what the amendments are for, flexibility, and allows them the maximum use of every penny that they get and they have. I don't see any hands. We're gonna go and ask Joe. Joe, if you can go ahead and do the roll up, and let's vote on this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment by Senator Therese Terlahi, beginning on line 1, page 34. Chairman San Agustin.
Aye.
Chairman San Agustin, aye. Vice Chair Rajel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rajel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton.
Again.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes.
Hello. I'm on Zoom right now.
Speaker Munya Barnes, aye. Senator Lee.
Again.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Terlahi.
Again.
Senator Therese Terlahi, aye. Senator Pino Terlahi.
Again.
Senator Pino Terlahi, aye. Senator March Taitano.
Again.
Senator March Taitano, aye. Senator Castro.
Again.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan.
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munya.
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson.
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez.
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres.
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. Senator Taitugui.
Again.
Senator Taitugui, aye. Mr. Chair, this amendment received 15 aye votes.
Thank you, my colleagues, for this amendment will be engrossed into the budget bill. We'll now move to page 36. Senator Therese, on your other amendment, line 15.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could just take a moment just to welcome the director. Thank you, Director, for joining us, and for your team, Ms. Archangel and Mr. Taitugui. We kind of dove right into the budget, and so, yeah, the part that happened before you arrived was just that Senator Torres sponsored an amendment that removed a $1 million appropriation from the Healthy Futures Fund that was going to GMH, and instead, and then my colleagues approved to put that into public health as well. And of course, you saw the other amendment by my colleague. And so I'm right now doing these two amendments for this. It's for flexibility for use of the funds for Medicaid, MIP especially. So this new amendment is on line 15 of page 36. And it's going to add the words fiscal year 2020. And what it will do is allow, so the provision of the bill currently allows that we're going to carry over FY 2021 unexpended balance of appropriations for MIP. But I would also like to carry over any unexpended FY 2020. And this was not included in last year's budget bill. So I just wanted to put this in here as a kind of administrative housekeeping measure to make sure that they can carry that over and use it. Of course, this is all because claims come in late and then they can't pay it all by the end of the fiscal year. And
all right, I'm looking for any hands of it.
Tess, is that language going to be okay?
Yes, thank you so much, Senators.
All right, okay, thank you.
Okay, Senator Tello, you have a question. I can see your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. On the unexpended balances for these appropriations of 2020 and 2021, I'd just like to ask the author of the amendment if it would be feasible to also put 2019 as well. If there is any unexpended balance that public health may have, or a little bit, or because I remember there was this when we were relieved of a certain percentage that was required for Medicaid. I think it was about 40%, I think, that we only had to provide for. So I'm asking the author of the bill that there could be some unexpended balance based on what had happened, where the federal government what's the word I want to say, gave us a break, during that time. So would 2019 be okay to put in there?
All right. First of all, this is for MIP, and I don't have an objection to that, but I would like Tess to explain, please, because I know that some people have approached me thinking there's a whole pot of money left over in Medicaid, but I want her to discuss that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Senator, there's still some money in 2019 because we did the retro claiming. So, but fiscal year 2020 budget already indicated that it should roll over until it's expended for its purpose.
Okay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Senator.
No worries. Thank you. That's all. Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Tess, are you talking about MIP or Medicaid in that?
Both,
Okay.
Senator. There's a section. Thank you.
All right. So all we're doing on this amendment now is to include whatever is unexpended from 2020, roll over into 21. All right. Ms. Archangel, do you believe there may be some money to roll over in 2020? Maybe you're expecting something, even if it's a little bit. At least everything it counts.
There, Senator, there's still some money in FY 2020 and 2019 that may roll over.
Okay, because you got the 2019 is going to roll over, but do you see anything in 2020 rolling over?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Senator.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I don't see any hands waving to ask a question. That being so indicated, Joe,
When you ask,
yes,
I just have
Senator.
a question. When you asked Tess, when the director asked you, or not the director, when the chairman asked you about any anticipated rollovers, you did mention 2019, but that wasn't for MIP and Medicaid. That was for something else. Is that right?
That's for Medicaid.
So there is something for 2019 that should have some additional unexpended.
Yes.
Right, but Senator Tello, it was identified by Ms. Archangel that in 2020 budget, it already allowed the rollover, so it's looking at 2020 to roll over into 21. It's just trying to just follow the rollovers is really what we're doing.
Okay.
Trying to keep the money going with public health.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you so much. Okay.
All right, that being said, no other question. Joe, would you please do the roll call and let's vote on this amendment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment by Senator Therese Terlahi on line 15, page 36, Chairman San Agustin.
Aye.
Chairman San Agustin, aye. Vice Chairman Rangel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rangel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton.
Again.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes.
I know she's here. She just might have some technical difficulty. Every now and then she's. Oh, there you go. She says that aye, Joe.
Thank you. Speaker Munya Barnes, aye. Senator Lee.
Again.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Terlahi.
Okay.
Senator Therese Terlahi, aye. Senator Pito Terlahi. Senator Pito Terlahi, aye. Senator Mars Taitano.
Again.
Senator Mars Taitano, aye. Senator Castro.
Again.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan.
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munya.
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Senator Vice Speaker Nelson.
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez.
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres.
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. Senator Taitagui.
Again.
Senator Taitagui, aye. Mr. Chair, the amendment by Senator Therese Terlahi received 15 aye votes.
Thank you, my colleagues. That amendment passes and it will be engrossed also on the budget bill, Bill 282-35. We have one more amendment, if I'm correct, Senator Therese, and that's on line 17, page 38.
Yeah.
And that should close the.
If I could just ask Ms. Archangel one more time. So for the Medicaid, when Could you please just explain, so for the appropriations that are made in here, in this bill for Medicaid, these amounts, and with the rollover, is that going to be sufficient to match what your potential Medicaid amount could be, or what we could get from the federal government in Medicaid?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, so the rollover helps you to get the medical, and that was, we needed
get-
9.8 million
To get
more.
the federal funding, yes.
Will you
In
be
order
able
for
to
us to get-
utilize the maximum? Pardon? What, you will be able to utilize the maximum Medicaid amount of 127 million and the CHIP of 34 million?
Yes, Senator.
Okay, great. Thank you. And so, okay, Mr. Chair, so
Senator,
Now we go
that's
to your
based
last
on,
amendment.
Senator,
What's
that's
that,
based on, sorry, Senator. Senator, that's based on our estimated expenditure for fiscal year 2021. Yes, we will have enough money to match. By the way, the total federal funding for 2021 for Medicaid is 129 million.
okay, I said 127, sorry. Okay, 129.
Yeah, we were just informed. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. That's good news. So, and OFB, again, they put more in the MIP this year than they did last year. So I want to thank them for that.
Yes.
Okay, so we're now on the amendment on page 38, line 17. This is, it's to add a new section to the bill that will take the remaining fiscal year 2020 fund balance of the Healthy Futures Fund and appropriate it to public health. We believe that there is a balance based on the CRER reports that we have been receiving, Mr. Chair, or the special fund reports.
All right. Okay, thank you, Senator Therese. I only have one question on that one because it concerns me. We're talking about the Healthy Future Funds where Senator Munoz was looking for funding for the Guam Cancer Trust Fund. And I want to make sure that we address that also because we're going to do our best to cover both because at the end of the day, they're both going to need it. And if we can find out from Steve, if there's any funds at all there that's unappropriated, that we're able to make sure that we cover both bases as much as possible because Senator Munoz has expressed that on the Healthy Future Fund that deals with the Guam Cancer Trust Fund. Steve, maybe you can answer that. Is there any money at all remaining from FY 2020 that was not appropriated in Public Law 35-36, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I would need to check. I need to get back with you right now.
All right, okay. All right.
Chair, if I may, yeah,
yes,
the special fund tracking as of July says that they're estimating 1.3 million. But of course, this may change by the end of the fiscal year, which is, end of September. So we're just saying the balance. And if their tracking is correct, it's only $1 million, Mr. Chair. And this is for public health operations. That's what I want to ensure. Because as we talked about earlier, we've increased Medicaid and MIP for public health, but their operations are still severely impacted. In fact, the director is here. I would like him to speak on that if we can, as to just like per division, what the impacts are. Because, while we fund personnel at public health, we also fund programs that, provide services. And so that is really our big concern. Well, that is the concern also that was expressed to us by public health in our meetings, Mr. Chair.
Understood, Senator Therese, but that was expressed, I think yesterday by Art, all of that. But I just didn't want to miss out on the Guam Cancer Trust Fund that's funded by the Healthy Future Fund. I just want to make sure that we have that understanding. I'm going to be torn between the two. I have a lot of family that gets public health. Quite a few family members that are cancer patients are recovering, surviving cancer patients that have always asked for help. And I just didn't want to mess with this. I'm not gonna choose between the two. I just wanna make sure that it's fair, that we share that little pot we have so that everybody gets the biggest bang for their dollar. And then that's how I'm gonna look at that. Because Guam Cancer, Senator Munoz has been pushing for that, and I wanna make sure that we're able to take care of that. And before we get to Art, because we heard him talk about the shortfall, I'd like to ask others to speak on that, and so that we can always come back to Art to explain more if need be. All right, Senator Therese? I want to see some hands if you want to speak to that motion. If you want to speak to that amendment. Senator Munoz, did you want to speak on that, or you're going to leave that alone on the health and future funds? You object to that? Okay. Anyone else would like to speak? All right, there's nobody that would like to speak. So I would ask Art to go ahead and explain then that what you had asked for to explain, but keep it short, Art, okay, please, because we did hear from you yesterday about the shortfall you have. We know the shortfall you have. I think we heard that all, but please speak, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, members of the Guam Legislature. With regards to the question raised before us this afternoon, as a Health and Social Service Department, one of the key areas we're always looking at is to build our capacity. And of course, in the face of COVID-19, that it becomes even more significant and paramount. With the reduction, of course, what's going to happen is all the plans to fill vacancies that are not funded in 2020 will have to come to a halt. Many of our funded vacancies that will assist in our operations will primarily be unfunded for 2021. Our focus for 2021 would be to maintain our current funded positions and warm bodies. But of course, when you translate positions to service, that also affects our overall ability to provide services without being able to add on additional bodies. I know the idea of recruitment is adding additional bodies is perhaps not a very popular one at this point with our economic outlook, but nonetheless, it is something that we find significant in our Health and Social Service Department. We've already talked about how the COVID-19 is tapping on some of the very resources of our department staff, adding on to their already heavy workload. And so we were looking at some of these positions also to assist in our response. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman of Finance. If he wants to keep it.
Does anyone else want to speak? Otherwise, we're going to move to vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Senator, I see Senator Moon, but I don't know if you want to speak, or is it Senator Tuttle?
Mr. Chair, I just want to wait for the information from Steve. I know he was going to go get that information and see what the lapses were. At this point, we don't even know how much that amount is.
All right, Senator.
We don't know, Mr. Chair. We will not know because it's FY 2020 is not over. I'm desperately trying to find $13 million to shore up public health existing services, not expanded from COVID, existing services, existing programs. And that's the issue, Mr. Chair. And I don't think it's appropriate for you to, without making an amendment to my motion to suggest otherwise. But that's all this amendment is trying to do, is that if there is, of course, that's what I want to do. And from our looking at the tracking, we're like, wow, maybe there might be 1.3. And that's nothing compared to 13 million. So now we've got the 1 million from the hospital. This will be 2 million. So, we're still 12 million short. So please, I don't want to be, I'm telling you.
Not a problem, not a problem. We'll wait for Steve.
Cancer programs, diabetes programs, and all kinds of programs. And I just think we are going to suffer in our community. We are already suffering in our community because their attention has been diverted to COVID. And we need to shore these things up, Mr. Chair. We cannot allow funding to be the reason that they do not complete their mission.
Mr. Chair, we just talked about earlier in the recycling revolving fund about reaching into and it's not going against the law and tapping into special funds where we need to make whole with what the law requires us to do. And that's all I'm asking. That's That's all I was asking, is just to make good on what the law requires us to do with the Healthy Futures Fund. That's
I
all.
agree with that, Mr. Chair. I'm not trying to do that, but public health is also supposed to be entitled to a portion of the Healthy Futures Fund, Mr. Chair. That's the issue. I agree with you, Senator. It hasn't gone 15% to the Cancer Trust. We need to find what's happened. I haven't had time to examine this whole budget to find out where else did it go that it's not supposed to go, but I do know that part of it is supposed to go to public health.
All right, Steve, do you have an answer to that question before Senator Taylor comes on? I'll just relax, Senator Taylor. Steve, do you have an answer?
Short recess too. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, you want to do a recess? Why don't we take a recess? Folks, let's take a recess and I'm gonna walk next door to my office and find out. So we'll take a just a few minute recess, 5 minutes at the, hopefully. Thank you. Thank you, my colleagues, and there'll be one for your patience. Senator Therese, you wanted to ask for a moment of silence, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. We were just informally notified that there have been 2 more deaths due to COVID on Guam, and we'd like to extend our condolences to the families, but I'd like to ask that we as a senatorial body, we take a moment of silence just to offer our sympathies and to pray for them, Mr. Chair.
Yes, my colleagues, a moment of silence, please. All right, my colleagues. I think there's an amendment, or is there amendment to your amendment, Senator Therese, or are you going to withdraw it and then have that new amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to withdraw the original amendment and submit a new one that is sponsored by myself and Senator Luis Borja Muña. And this, do we need to act on the withdrawal, or may I proceed, Mr. Chair?
I would appreciate it. Just do the withdrawal because it'll clean this one. This one will clean it up, and then nobody would debate how it's presented.
Withdraw that. And okay, so the new amendment would be to add a new section, and that would be notwithstanding any other provision of law, the fiscal year 2020 fund balance of the Healthy Futures Fund that was not appropriated in Public Law 35-36 is hereby appropriated to the Department of Public Health and Social Services not to exceed $1,300,000, period. Any fiscal year 2020 fund balance of the Healthy Futures Fund remaining beyond $1,300,000 shall be appropriated to the Guam Cancer Trust Fund, Mr. Chair. And I've committed to Senator Muña. We've discussed this throughout the year that we do need to reassess how it is that the Cancer Trust Fund is not receiving the 15%. Obviously, it's going to other places, but I know that it's supposed to go to the hospital, public health, some of our education programs, and behavioral health is getting a big chunk of it. So, but we do need to reevaluate it. But for now, Mr. Chair, this is an amendment. And again, these are not guaranteed funds, Mr. San Agustin at Public Health. These are, we're hoping if there are excesses that you would be able to avail of those. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Senator Therese. Just to go backward a little bit, there was a motion to withdraw. I didn't hear an objection, so the motion passes, and then this amendment is being entertained. All right, my colleagues. That being stated, I would like to ask for Steve to respond to the request of the information that we needed that was asked earlier before we move to further discussion of this amendment, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To answer and address Senator Talahi's question regarding the Healthy Future Fund, looking at the CRER report for the month of July, it does indicate that based on the tracking for fiscal year 2020, there is an anticipation of about $429,155 to be realized. Again, please keep in mind that this is only tracking, and that for the month of August to September are only projected numbers for the fund. Should these numbers that are reflected for August and September come in as noted, the 429,000 could be realized. If it doesn't, then of course we hope that it comes in at least in the amount that we're anticipating of the $41.9 million.
Now, Steve, when I was speaking to you earlier, we were talking about any unexpended Healthy Future funds. Could you please explain that, what we were discussing earlier, so we can address that? It's in the current law today, so we just want to make sure we're still tracking that, so all the information can be provided to our colleagues and to the people of Guam and even public health.
Yes, Senator. In the current Budget Act of Law 3536, there are two sections in the bill that allows the carryover of, or not carryover, but allows gives the authorization for the agencies to spend up to the revenue levels collected in each respective funds. For public health, there's 4 that are listed. One is the environmental health. The second one is health professional licensing revolving fund. The other one is the Office of Vital Statistics revolving fund and the sanitary inspection revolving funds. These 4 funds listed in the law are specific only to public health. So I am assuming that the reason why it's they allow this type of authority is because public health is the only department that can utilize these funds. In section 7 of chapter 13, part 2, there is also a provision there that states that all unappropriated or unexpended funds out of the Healthy Future Fund. Let me hold on. Yeah. All unexpended or unencumbered appropriations from the Healthy Future Fund by a GG1 purchase order or contract pursuant to this act shall revert back to the Healthy Future Fund on the last day of fiscal year 2020. So that one is kind of like saying that if any funds appropriated in 2020, I'm assuming that is unexpended, is reverted back to the fund by the end of the fiscal year. So with Senator Chalahi's amendment earlier, I believe, I think the intent of what she was trying to do was to utilize all unexpended fund to be used in 2021.
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't realize that the unexpended were going to revert to the fund. I was just looking that we were getting in that fund more than they anticipated. So wherever it comes from, I think public health needs it.
Yeah, I just wanted to make clear that, we're not overlapping and we're all on the same page because we're all talking about the Healthy Future Fund. So I want to make sure that we all realize that, the restriction on it.
All right, although we did carry over the Medicaid for Medicaid purposes, right? That one.
And MIP, that's the amendment we passed.
Yes.
Okay. Senator Clint, I see your hands up, sir. You like to make a comment?
I just want to clarify something with Steve because I was listening along to what he was saying. Were you saying that it allows for all unexpended appropriated Healthy Futures funds to revert back into the to DPHSS?
No.
That's correct, Senator.
No, it's to the Healthy Future Fund.
Steve was saying unexpended appropriated Healthy Futures funds.
Yes.
There's something that requires that to be sent back to DPHSS, right?
No, it reverts back to the Healthy Future Fund at the end of the fiscal year. Yes, sir.
Okay. But that's unexpended appropriations.
That's correct.
This amendment is for unexpended funds that are not appropriated in the law.
That is correct.
So this amendment is actually for essentially surplus funds. So in other words, what was appropriated is what we believed we would have collected for the year. So we adopted those special fund revenue levels. This amendment by Senator Terlahi seeks to take any surplus revenues collected for that fund in excess of what we adopted.
Right.
That is my understanding of Senator Chalahi's amendment. Yes.
So my question is, because there's the law requires that 15% of Healthy Futures funds goes towards the cancer fund, then I think that means that 15% of the surplus should go towards the cancer fund.
That you can interpret it that way, Senator, yes, and I don't think there is a problem abiding by the law.
Well, this would appropriate all of the surplus up to 1 million. Yeah, 1.3 million.
So in other words, Steve, just to stay on tracking with Senator Clint, he's asking then if we were to follow the law, the 15%, then there has been amendment to this amendment to reflect that, because the specific amendment is asking that not to exceed 1,300,000. Let's hypothetically say it don't read 1.3. Your comment and your statement, Senator Clinton, is that whatever the amount is, at least 15% is all you're asking. The remaining still goes to DPHSs. Okay, and I know you're not arguing with the public health, but you just wanted to make sure that at least 15% of whatever is unappropriated be able to go to the Guam Council. That's what you're asking, right? And I think an amendment would be in order if we would hear one in reference to the amendment of Senator Reese. Because, all right, Senator Clint, before I get to Senator Tello.
Sure.
Stand by, Senator Tello. Let me finish with Senator Clint.
Well, yeah, I would suggest, I would offer that amendment to make it 15% of whatever is unexpended and unappropriated revenues from the Healthy Futures Fund go to the Guam Cancer Fund.
Okay. Okay, and we'll get that in writing, hopefully, please.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mr.
yes, Senator Tello.
Totally different amendment than mine. It's going to be very hard to amend it.
Mr. Chair, I actually have an amendment that Senator Rigel was talking about, and it's already being drafted at this point. I understand exactly how it feels, but actually I'm asking for 75-25. Because I think I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say that, but if you give me a moment just to explain.
Yes, please do explain it, ma'am.
And I see where Senator Rigel is coming on this, and I saw the same thing. I think if we're going to take any unappropriated excess revenue coming from 2020, it should be divided equally, or at least by the law, like Senator Rigel spoke of. But my amendment actually says 75-25. But if the law says 15, but it's just a small amount, on 15. You all know where I come from when it comes to cancer. This does not stop. This does not, because there's COVID. This does not, stop this terrible disease. One out of 5 people will have cancer. So I think that because I'm looking at the estimated projected revenues in the Healthy Futures Fund from 2019, and it's showing 41,419,666 in 2019, and FY 2020 the estimated 41,517,002. Now it's not a big change, because the executive branch came up with 41,748.
41 million, ma'am.
Yeah, 41,748,000. And then of course it's the same that OFB has come up with. But if you look at the tracking in the CRER, you're looking at 1.3,901,065 in excess revenue right now. So it's kind of tracking a little bit higher. It is, and it looks like there may be an excess of about $2 million. But that means if you do that on the math on this amendment at 1,300,000, that doesn't leave very much for the Cancer Coalition. But I think either if I can change my amendment, it's already being typed up to 15% for the Guam Cancer Coalition, and the remaining 2 to stay, with the law that's already been in, that we supposed to be in following for a long time, but haven't been. At least we can do this. That's all, Mr. Chair. My amendment will come through. I think I'll just change it to 15% just so that we stay within the law.
All right, so you have an amendment to the amendment. Senator Therese, and we'll be waiting for that.
Yeah,
Senator Therese.
just for some perspective, we're talking about I estimated 1.3 based on one CRER. Steve Guerrero just read another one that I think it's only 400,000. Is that right, Mr. Guerrero? That you're
Steve?
estimating that, that's all. And we're talking about a $13 million appropriation for operations at public health below their FY20. There are so many agencies in this budget bill that have received Healthy Future funds that have received their FY20 appropriations or more. And so I just think while I'm trying to find, scrap money here for public health, you want to abide by the law, then take this whole budget and abide by the law and make it be the 72% that's going to go to these programs and the 15%. But it can't be shouldered by public health alone and then no other agency. They're already shouldering that, Mr. Chair. I just, that's I'm just saying this is just a small amount of money that we found, and it might not. My amendment is different than what Mr. Guerrero is describing. He's describing unexpended appropriations. I don't know when that will come into play, which one's faster, but we should go for both. But
No,
mine is very possibly only $400,000 if what he's saying is true, and then he's saying we are even hoping that we receive that much. So I don't know. I'm just saying, if you want to follow the law, then follow the law and let this whole budget follow the law. It's got to be from the budget, Mr. Chair. The entire tax collections for the Healthy Futures Fund supposed to be divided 72-15. And if we're not going to do that, then please, let's just deal with this one amendment for the small amount of money that's not even real yet, may not even be real the way, we've seen the prior appropriations go. So this is just an attempt to
All right, thank you. Senator Lee, before I get back to Senator Louise, who waved her hand, and Senator Tello. Senator Lee, you had a comment you wanted to make, ma'am?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to inform maybe OFB staff that I think the Vice Speaker is trying to get back in. So if
okay.
let her in
Joe, check that out, please.
the waiting room, or at least just be on the lookout for her. I think she's having some internet issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Yes,
going back.
Mr. Chair, we've been adding her, and I think she just keeps getting bumped off. So we'll keep monitoring that.
All right, thank you. Senator Louise, would you like to make?
Mr. Chairman, can I just clarify?
Steve.
Okay.
All right.
The 1.3 that Senator Terlahi is referring to is the actual collections between July of 2019 and this year, which shows a difference of 1.3 million. You are correct if you're looking at only for the month of July. But if you go on page 2 of the CRE report that shows the total Healthy Future Fund projection for the whole year, it only shows $429,000.
Right.
That's the difference. I just wanted to make that clear. Your number is correct, but you're using a number only to compare July this year and July of last year.
Yeah, I
What
heard
my
you.
number is the total projection for the end of the year.
Yes, I hear you. So that's what I'm saying. It's even less than I than I was hoping. The 1.3. You're estimating only 400,000. Yeah.
That's correct.
We.
All right. Let's Senator Teresa. Let's have Senator Louise speak now on your amendment, please. Senator Louise.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this amendment then that we're discussing right now wouldn't even fulfill the whatever Steve is projecting at 429,000 wouldn't even fulfill the 1.3 million, would it?
Right.
No, it wouldn't. If
we wouldn't
only
even get to 1.3.
Now, let's hope, my colleagues, that at the end of September, that it still maintains 429, because remember, that's what's projected. Remember, it's cumulative, and there's a minus. There's ups and downs, and then at the end of September or in October, we'll know exactly what came in. So it hopefully we stay at 429. Remember, it started at 1.3 and then it dropped to 429. So let's just see what happens throughout the remainder of the year. I want to
Yeah,
make sure.
Mr. Chair, that kind of changes the whole projection of this amendment already. I mean, even at 429,000, I don't even think it would even accomplish even a little bit of the goal that Senator Terlahi was even looking for. You know, I was hoping that I could come up with a compromise with Senator Terlahi, because it's almost like we're trying to pin one against the other, and really everyone wants to help public health. We know, and I've discussed this already many times before, we all know that they're busting at the seams, they're fatigued, they're tired. No one across the board is getting what they're meant to get in this budget. Period. No one. And I know that Senator Terlahi wants to fulfill as much of it as she can. All I'm asking, and I've been asking every single budget year, Mr. Chair, is just to uphold the law at 15%. And then beyond that, we can just disperse all of the Healthy Futures funds to anyone who wants it. At this point, I'm looking at, and I've done my numbers, Mr. Chair, I worked down the percentage of every single Healthy Future Fund dollar. And that's why I even asked Mr. Guerrero at that one point. It looks like $42,748,091 has been appropriated to every single agency. And at this point, the way I'm looking at it, the MIP revolving fund at Department of Public Health and Social Services is getting $13,388,503. That's over 31% of the Healthy Futures Fund is already going to Department of Public Health and Social Services. The Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness, Mr. Chair, is getting over 50% of the Healthy Futures Fund. Now, I'm not going to argue that the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness it deserves it, because, yeah, I mean, it's a crazy irony, right? That what we're collecting this money for is going to an agency that's supposed to stop them from doing what it is that they're doing, that's funding them, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But, if the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness does exactly what they're supposed to do, then this fund should be dropping. That's my point. This fund should be dropping because we're collecting money from these tobacco and alcohol taxes, and it's going directly into this agency that's supposed to help them stop doing what it is that they're doing. It's kind of a crazy irony, but it's happening. And they're getting over 50%. I'm not going to argue with that. Mr. Chair, the Guam Cancer Trust Fund is only getting 2.33% of this entire $42,748,091. I can't deny that everybody deserves a piece of that money, and everybody keeps sticking their hand in that pot. All I'm asking for is I'm not even asking for 15%. I'm asking for whatever it is that I can find around in this entire budget where I can actually put some money back in there. Even if it's just like Dr. Christ said yesterday, he said right now they had grants at about 2 million. They just need, even if it's just to get to 2.3 million, that's all I'm trying to get to. I don't need the $6,412,000 that they're required by law to get. All I want is half of that. That's it. 7%. That's all. And so I'm trying to fight with all the different agencies and the chairs of the different agencies just to get an extra dollar into the Guam Cancer Trust Fund. I don't think, and I don't want to say that Senator Terlahi or anybody else who chairs an agency doesn't care about cancer, because we all know we all care about cancer. But really, what does the law tell us to do? Yesterday, when we were talking about this revolving fund, we were saying that we keep breaking the law by allowing this money to go to other places except for where it's supposed to go first. And so that's exactly what I keep fighting for the Guam Cancer Trust Fund. Put the 15% in and then do whatever you want with it. That's all I'm saying. But every year since I became a senator, I always had to fight to at least make them even half of the 15% whole. That's all. Last year, I was hoping to get an extra million. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. They had to use their reserve funds, and now they're down to nothing. They don't even have enough to operate at all for the next fiscal year. So if I can just get a little bit more I mean, like everybody, wants to help cancer patients. Well, prove it. Let's help them. Find where you can. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Tello. Senator Tello, please.
Yeah, I'm just a little speechless after my colleagues, after Senator Muniz's passion toward this, knowing people fighting for people like us. Mr. Chair, I submitted an amendment to the amendment. And if the anticipated $400,000 is what is expected, then there's no way the Cancer Coalition is going to get any funding whatsoever. So it's almost disingenuous. So why don't we just share the pot? And it's simple. It's only $60,000. I wish it could be a lot more, but it's only $60,000. So if you take $400,000 and you take 15% of that, it's only $60,000, and the remaining is $340,000 to public health. And if things work out, it'll be more for both sides. So, Mr. Chair, I put my amendment should be up on the chat, making an amendment to the amendment, and I ask my colleagues to please support this.
Yes, thank you, Senator Tello. Have my colleagues seen the amendment? I have it in my hand right now. I just need to know if everybody's got that. The amendment on line 17, page 38, amendment to Senator Terlai's amendment to read. Has everybody received that already? I hope everybody received it. Just wait for Senator Tello. If you can just, you've explained it, but now we need you to officially introduce your amendment, and let's address this. And if there's any discussion, we can discuss it, and we can move on and move to vote on it. All right, Senator Tello, if you can please read your amendment to the amendment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it's on line 17, page 38, and it's an amendment to the. It's a section, notwithstanding any provisions of law. 85% of the fiscal year 2020 fund balance of the Healthy Futures Fund that was not appropriated in Public Law 35-36 is hereby appropriated to the Department of Public Health and Social Services, and 15% shall be appropriated to the Guam Cancer Trust Fund.
Are there any discussions? I'm waiting for a hand. Senator Lee, and then Senator Therese, please.
Senator Terlahi can go first.
All right, Senator Therese.
That's okay, Mr. Chair. I'm looking for something.
All right,
Mr.
Senator Lee.
I don't really have an objection to this. I agree with the retiring speakers about the Guam Cancer Trust Fund, and obviously there are great needs in the Department of Public Health and Social Services, as we all know, during this pandemic time. But I really do take issue with this idea of just these fiscal policies of us budgeting these phantom appropriations. If we believe that this money is there, then we need to address it in revenue and then subsequently appropriate, as is the practice that we have done for every other thing in this budget. You identify the revenue and then you tell us where it goes. So this whole exercise again about, just fighting tooth and nail to say that we're not going to increase revenues, but can we tell you exactly where we want it to put it if it does end up coming in? We have to, figure out where we stand here. Are we going to be conservative and live within our means, as so many people are staunchly, fighting for? We've already decreased this budget by many tens of millions of dollars. And so I understand, we're having these really tough choices, but let's be very clear about the choices that we're making going forward and about the fiscal policy that we're adopting. If this money exists, if, OFB is telling us that it's in the bank, and that we can appropriate it, then let's do that. Let's say that we have that on the revenue front and, you know, address it in these special funds, and then we can subsequently appropriate it. That's the proper thing to do, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Senator Therese?
Yes, Mr. Chair. First of all, that's exactly what we're trying to do, because FY20 budget is done. We are now trying to say that if they're receiving more money than we had appropriated, then we're trying to adjust that right now. That's exactly what we're doing. That's our job. And if the money is not going to come through, Mr. Chair, I mean, you know, like I said, I think our entire budget bill should be readjusted so that public health operations can be met. If it's not going to be readjusted, then yes, I'm going to fight tooth and nail to find any kind of money, because obviously none of you wants to give up money from your agencies for public health. And I'm not even asking for that. I'm asking for money that I'm finding in other places to go to public health to try to get them anywhere near operations level of FY20, because I don't want our community to suffer. And I'm not going to fight over whether the money goes to Cancer Trust Fund. I am a proponent of the Cancer Trust Fund as well. Mr. Chair, our budget, obviously, this budget bill does not meet the law of the 15% to the Cancer Trust Fund. And it's gone to other places. There are very specific purposes in the law. It's 15% to the Cancer Trust Fund, 12% to GMH, 72% to health, education, public safety, social programs providing awareness on tobacco and alcohol and substance abuse, prevention, cessation, treatment, and control. Almost all of these things are what public health's mission is as well. The Cancer Trust Fund does not operate in a vacuum. Public health's role in all of this is, it's the backbone. So I'm not, you know, if they want the 400,000, that's not my issue. My issue is I'm trying to find money for public health. And if you want to take care of the Cancer Trust Fund colleagues, they want $2.5 million. Let's find them $2.5 million. This is only $400,000 that we want to divide up. But I'm just saying, why not? Why did you not raise these? You know, we're going to take it out of the places that are not health related, that are not cancer prevention related, like public health and the Cancer Trust Fund. So, you know, I'm just saying, I'm going to continue to keep trying to find things. Mr. Guerrero, I thank you. I'm still hoping the Healthy Futures Fund is one of the only funds that is tracking well. And so that's why if it works out to the end of the fiscal year, while public health cannot meet its mission, then it's a no-brainer for me. And I'm not saying let's not give to the Cancer Trust Fund, but perhaps we will be able to do that. I'm just saying, it should have been done in the budget. It wasn't done in the budget. It should have been borne on the back of public health alone. It's totally, you know, the budget that divvies up whether we're going to fund public health with general fund or Healthy Futures Fund. All of that discretion is so way beyond us, or it would take us, you know, a long time to redo it that way. So I've tried to be very non-disruptive of the agency budgets that you have set here. And I'm even trying to let public health be satisfied with, you know, additional funds outside of what's been appropriated in here. But the fight that I am getting on this to just put whatever amounts that I can scrap together from different places for public health operation is really, it really bothers me, because I'm telling you, Mr. Chair, I don't know if you're gonna find, I'm not saying public health's perfect, believe me, you know, that's not the issue here. The issue is, are we committed to the mandates of public health? Do we want them to succeed or fail? Which one? And the Cancer Trust Fund can issue out its loans. It does it in, I think, quarterlies, if that's correct, Senator Muña, or I think so. And so hopefully we redo the budget, Mr. Chair, and let's put the proportions as they're supposed to be and do that. But I don't think we're going to be able to do that in this week. And I would like to keep my amendment because, as I said, I think the Healthy Futures Fund is tracking best of any fund. And so if there's any hope for public health, this might be it. Not to take away from cancer patients, because I think they share the same mission, Mr. Chair, and that I agree with you. There's an amendment in our drive to take money to put to the Cancer Trust Fund. It's a much more than this 400,000 to be divvied up. And I am in full support of that, Mr. Chair.
All right, and thank you, Senator Therese. I just wanted wanted you to repeat the percentage that's required by law, so that when we recess, I'm going to get that percentage and identify to you who has what. And if you wanted to identify 50% goes to Guam Cancer, I think you mentioned 72% is supposed to be spread out between all the different agencies. We're going to show you that 72% is not totally for public health. It also includes education, public safety, and a bunch of other folks. So I would just be very careful how you want to preach just be very careful, Senator Therese. I just want to make sure you understand that.
I am very careful, Mr. Chair, and I'm saying
so just give me the percentage.
Is if the 15% did not go to Cancer Trust Fund, that was not our doing. That was not my doing. That was not public health doing. You know, we have the discretion to use general fund or Healthy Futures Fund, and that's all. And I'm just saying, we're too far along in this process. I'm not even asking you to redo the budget. I'm just saying, let's be reasonable and let's just then help me find money for public health. If you don't want to use the funds that I'm finding, help me find that, please.
Yes, thank you. And anyone else would like to speak? Senator Munoz?
So Senator Therese proffered an amendment. Senator Tello proffered an amendment to the amendment. Is that what we're discussing right now? Senator Tello tied.
That's correct. Yes, we are discussing Senator Tello's amendment.
Okay,
right.
and her amendment was to allow 15% before any of the money goes to Department of Public Health and Social Services.
No, it's to take 15% of the total amount, 85% goes to public health. And she estimated based on that 400,000, it's only about $60,000.
Mr. Chair, just to talk about the amendment to the amendment, and I stand in support of that, because even like I said earlier, Mr. Chair, even I'm just looking dollar for dollar, whatever I can get. If I can get even $60,000, I'm sure the Guam Cancer Trust Fund would appreciate that. I still have a couple of other amendments, and I'm going to try to get them to be whole, to come up to at least 2.5. That's what I'm trying to get to. And I just want to thank Senator Tadegui for allowing at least 60,000, because at the rate Mr. Guerrero was talking about, doesn't even look like we're even going to get to the 1.3 that Senator Therese was looking for. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Does anyone else would like to speak to the amendment? I don't see any hands. We'll move to Senator Tello. You want to go ahead and close on your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Stand by, Senator Tello. Senator Therese, you wanted to speak again on the same amendment that you spoke on already? I can't hear you. If you unmute, please.
That if I could just ask OFB if they could just clarify. So this is one funding source, and it might be 400,000, but you identified a second one, Mr. Guerrero, right? That might be more. Do you have any idea? You said it's the unexpended appropriations.
I was referring to your previous amendment when you were talking about the 1.3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but then you also said that there was a language in the FY20 budget that says any unexpended appropriations revert to the Healthy Futures Fund. And
Yes.
so they would not
Yes.
be included in this amendment. And I'm asking you, have any idea how much that is?
I do not, yeah, I do not know the balance of that, Senator, at the moment. I will try to get that for you. But yeah, what I was just trying to clarify is that just to make sure that the amendment that you prosper was not in conflict with what is already in the existing law. That's all I wanted to do, just to bring it up to the body.
Do you believe it's in conflict?
No, I'm saying I just wanted to make sure it's not in conflict, but the body was aware of the provision in the law.
All right. Okay, I'm just wondering if that's a greater amount than this, and yeah, otherwise, all right, thank you. Can you?
And yes,
get that
and yes, Senator Therese, it could be a greater amount if at the end of the year, it is found that agencies that were appropriated Healthy Future Fund money, didn't spend it, it returns back to the fund. So it could be more, but we won't know until the end of the year. So you're right, it could be more. But this one only talks about the unappropriated fund, not appropriated. So if there was unexpended at the end of the year and it's identified that different agencies did not spend it, regardless of the agencies that were appropriated, it would be available in the fund. So at the end of the year, if any of you were to introduce a bill and it would be identified that this is what is not spent, it's open for appropriation. All right? Sure. Senator, see, we're done. I don't see any other hands going up. Senator Tello, if you could close on your amendment, please. Your amendment to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'd like to thank everybody for chiming in here and the information that was provided, and to two passionate women who believe in what they're fighting for. I too believe in both sides, public health, the need for that, and also especially the need for the cancer patients out there. So I'd just like to move it to for voting, but before I do that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to add a co-sponsor to this amendment, Senator Clint Rangel. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Joe, if you could do the roll call and let's get the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment by Senator Taitagui to the amendment proffered by Senator Therese Terlahi and Luis Munoz. Chairman San Agustin.
Aye.
Chairman San Agustin, aye. Vice Chair Rangel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rangel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton.
Pass.
Vice Chair Shelton, pass. Speaker Munoz Barnes.
Again.
Speaker Munoz Barnes, aye. Senator Lee.
Again.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Terlahi.
Again.
Senator Therese Terlahi, aye. Senator Peter Terlahi.
Again.
Senator Peter Terlahi, aye. Senator Marsh Taitano.
Just to clarify, we're voting on the amendment to the amendment.
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct.
Okay, something threw me off, and I just wanted to clarify. Hungen.
Senator Marsh Taitano, aye. Senator Castro.
Again.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan.
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munoz.
Again.
Senator Munoz, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson.
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez.
Again.
I'm sorry, ma'am. One more time.
Again.
Thank you. Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres.
Nay.
Senator Torres, nay. Senator Taitagui.
Again.
Senator Taitagui, aye. Senator Shelton. Vice Chair Shelton.
Again.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Mr. Chair, you have 14 ayes and 1 nay.
Thank you, my colleagues. The amendment has passed. Now we go to the amendment as amended. Any further there's no discussion. We would move to the vote. Joe, if you can go ahead and do the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment as amended, Chairman San Agustin.
Aye.
Chairman San Agustin, aye. Vice Chair Rangel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rangel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton.
Ungan.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munya Barnes.
Ungan.
Speaker Munya Barnes, aye. Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Lee, nay. Senator Teresa Talahi.
Again.
Senator Teresa Talahi, aye. Senator Pidut Talahi.
Ungan.
Senator Pidut Talahi, aye. Senator Mars Taitano.
Again.
Senator Mars Taitano, aye. Senator Castro.
Again.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moylan.
Aye.
Senator Moylan, aye. Senator Munya.
Again.
Senator Munya, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson.
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez.
Ungan.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres.
Nay.
Senator Torres, nay. Senator Taitagui.
Ungan.
Senator Taitagui, aye. Mr. Chair, the amendment as amended received 13 ayes and 2 nays.
Thank you, my colleagues. The amendment as amended will be engrossed into the budget bill. We will now move, I don't see any other amendments in part 2 of chapter 3 of health. We will now move to.
Yes, I do have one more, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah, one more. Yes, ma'am. I'm
page
looking for it. Page 38 also?
Yeah.
Okay, does everybody have that? Oh, page 38. Is that the one with the transfer funds? Is that what we're looking at?
Transfer authority, yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Senator Therese, please introduce your amendment and we can move on that, please.
Sure. Director San Agustin, I don't think I've been able to do a good enough job to impress upon my colleagues the need that public health might have. And so while you're here, I just, we're talking about operations, and in my mind, I'm talking about operations at a level $13 million below the FY20 levels. And if I guess I just want you to make it clear for one last time, because it looks like we're going to move forward. And I've looked for, excess funds from different places so that it wouldn't impact any of the budgets going forward here, but I haven't been able to find enough. So if we're going to find any more money, the only ones I can think of now, unless anyone has any other ideas, is it's like cutting other appropriations, other agencies that haven't been treated the same, I guess. So I don't know. I'm just going to let you have the floor. My last amendment only has to do with transfer authority. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman San Agustin. Chairman Senator Teresa Light, first of all, I want to thank you for your advocacy and for being there with us. Definitely feel your passion, your commitment to our department, and not to say the other senators don't have a commitment and passion to the Department of Public Health and Social Service at all. But this afternoon, you demonstrated your leadership and your willingness to step out there and really put a good fight for us. I thank you for that. I know that we're in a time that we are faced with so many different challenges. I am not blind or am I immune to that. I know that all the departments and agencies throughout government of Guam are going to be struggling in 2021. And I really want to say with confidence that I know all of you recognize that any reduction to any agency, including public health and social services, is going to have an impact. It's going to have an impact on our community. And the Senator Terlahi, our chairperson, has said it quite well. We are charged with health and welfare. When people lose their jobs, we see them at our doorstep. They come to our health centers for services because they lost health coverage, insurance coverage. So we are there. And anything that we can do, be it excess revenue that doesn't impact other operations, of course, throughout the government, that is identified that can help us move health and welfare programs forward, raise it up to a level of service that can assist our community, is appreciated. In terms of service, of course, and a reduction could affect anywhere from our food program to our manamko, our elderly, reduction in the operations of our daycare centers, our ability to match federal programs, which could translate to less employees working on the project. So there's a myriad of activities and services with less money to match our programs. The department is committed, and we will do our very best with what the senator has advocated this afternoon and all of you in the deliberation you have for our 2021 budget. It's going to be a very challenging year for the Department of Public Health and Social Services, to say the least. Many of you hear about environmental health and all the work that they do. And many of us agree, we need them out there in the community. They are kind of like our safety measure for restaurants, health regulated establishments. And that year after year, I don't have enough health inspectors to go out there. I don't have enough money for our welfare programs. Year after year, you know about our shortfall. It's nothing new. I've been in government for over 30 years now. And in the many years I've been in management, MIP Medicaid has been a constant challenge. We somehow survive, but we will try again in 2021. But I also need you all to embrace with me as these rollouts affect services or operations, that we all embrace and stand together and not necessarily call public health and social services in for an oversight because we are delayed in processing, because we're not able to operate at the level we are in 2021. I ask that we stand together in 2021. I need your support in 2021 to survive 2021. But I can't do it if you're going to call us in for oversight because Division of Public Welfare is being sanctioned for an error rate that they can't control, nor can they fix, because it requires additional staff. I know when people hear additional staff, they're like, gosh, they want to hire people in this time. A lot of times it's not to hire because we want to, it's because we need to. And without the additional staff, our error rate doesn't get addressed. And the error rate translates into penalties, fiscal penalties, that most recently we had to pay. And that penalty is quite stiff. Our penalty for what was most recently paid was $500,000 for an error rate. I think, Tess, if I'm correct, we're like 11 point something % error rate. And so that's not the error rate we want to work towards. We want to reduce that. And so it's going to be a constant daily challenge for the department, the leadership, management, because we're looking at everything that we do, from the services we provide to the manamko, our elderly, our welfare households, women, infant, and children, our health centers. All of it will be impacted with the reduction of funds. And we know that. And we're going to have to prioritize. And I ask that when we prioritize and we lay the program out, that you stand with us. That you stand with us and you say, this is what we could do for 2021. And just maybe next year, instead of having less seniors go to our daycare center, which today is not open in the face of COVID-19, that we will accept that. And that some seniors will not be able to go to daycare centers, that some seniors may not be able to be seen by case management to coordinate their services. I know as a community, we've always withstood many, many challenges. And I'm confident that we will withstand COVID-19. Today, COVID-19 is a very difficult challenge for public health and social services, even more so as the governor has shared that one of those that have passed on today is a nurse. And so, of course, that hits very hard to our department. It hits our heart, it hits our home, it hits our operations, because we have nurses in public health and social services as frontline responders. And so it is difficult. It's difficult I've got people crying today. And as much work as we have for COVID-19, they're in tears today because they know the nurse. And it's not to say, and it's just like we would say, anyone we lose in our family, a loved one, brings us to tears. Be it visible or just internal, it brings sadness. Now, that is a celebration of life, but it is still filled with a degree of sadness. So it's a hard place to be. Senator Chalahi, I really thank you for watching you all debate. This is what it's all about. And I understand that you are trying your very best to give us additional funds. I understand, Senator Munya, you're also advocating for the cancer trust fund. I mean, they're all very worthwhile. We serve those clients. We assist their families. We assist thousands of families on Guam with all the programs that we provide. And in the face of COVID-19, I've shared this with you before when we gave an update. Anything you can do to help us sustain our operations so that we can focus on COVID-19 because it's here and it's not going away anytime soon, that we can then build our capacity. It's really difficult to build capacity when we're having to reprioritize at the very same time. And that's a very difficult place to be. But I'm confident that my staff and I will find a way, as they have always with prior administrations, prior challenges, they've always found a way to survive. But anything you can do in your legislative realm, authority, that can assist us, we would appreciate, and we would ask that you consider us in any other way that you can to assist us in our operations. Give us the flexibility that you've given us. That will definitely help us in our operations. The funding that was done for $1 million over to us, that also is appreciated, and also carryovers and all the transfers authorities and minimizing any unnecessary bureaucratic processes is very much appreciated by the process that we go through. But in terms of operations and applications, there is going to be an impact, and I don't think that any of you are really saying that there isn't going to be. I think you all recognize that without having to go through the laundry list of every division and everything that they're going to do, but it will affect our operations. Anything from having to curtail how we do business, having to perhaps look at leases and contracts that have to be consolidated and reduced so that we can survive within the means. But at the end of the day, it will affect our services in ways that perhaps today we may not be able to articulate exactly how, because we're going to see how creative we can get. But it will be, with millions of dollars not being available to the Department of Public Health and Social Services. It just translates without anyone really having to do any guesswork. It's going to affect operations. It's going to affect the degree of service and the level of service that we will provide. And that's really where we're at as a department. It's a hard place to be because it's not public health and social services alone, but today we're about public health and social services alone in this community. So Senator Chalahi, our chairperson on health, and Senator Shelton, our legislative secretary, I'm gonna get that one right today. I apologize for the other day. I appreciate all your support, all members of the legislative body. We appreciate your support. We know that you're representing all the government agencies, but nonetheless, I know that many of you and your families may have walked through our doors for varying reasons throughout their life and maybe in the future. And so with that experience, maybe then you can find hope and some funding that maybe has not been identified, that has not been earmarked, that can be then considered as additional funding. And I'm not asking to strip from my brothers and sisters from other government agencies. They too have mandates. I'm not saying that because I don't want to come off as saying, well, I'm more important than anyone else. But I am saying public health and social services has a significant critical role today, probably has more than ever in our island in terms of our health and safety and our welfare programs, given not just the response to COVID-19, but its impact to people losing their jobs, losing health coverage. So thank you all for this afternoon. Senator Chalahi, Chairperson, thank you so much for your advocacy this afternoon and for all of you giving me your time this afternoon. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask us, if not today, in the future. And we stand ready to work with you. And I hope that you would also stand with us as we provide the impact to the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director. And if you could just bear with us for 5 to 10 more minutes while we do one more amendment and make one more point. So on the health, in the budget for public health, it's beginning on page 33 and it's several pages long all the way to 38. there are there are several earmarks. So all of the different sections, they earmark the money. And so this is why we, overall, if you add all of this money up, public health only looks about $3.5 million short, which is at first why I wasn't so alarmed. However, if you look, a large chunk of it is for things that it's like for Medicaid, and it's like a pass through public health to put into the hands of people. The Medicaid, the MIP, and almost every other thing has a designated role. And so it's after you take those away, the operations of public health, and I'm talking about every other operation of public health that you can think of, all the divisions. Environmental health, which has already been suffering, going to be cut. The seniors, anyways, the director did that already. So what I'm trying to do now with my last amendment, and before I do that, if I could just clarify, Mr. Director, so there's a health professional licensing office revolving fund. And that has been appropriated in here to public health. It's saying the balance is 286. My understanding is that this revolving fund comes from licensing fees, and that it's for the health professional, like the medical licensing board, the nurse licensing board, the allied health. So those boards, I was hoping there was a lot more money than this, because this was supposed to be accumulating, because they haven't been able to use it except for I think one staff, but they need this money to do the enforcement on the licensing, that regulation aspect that's really been in decline over the years because they haven't been able to access their money. So they finally got everything in line now, finally, to hire a lawyer, a separate lawyer from the AG that advises them regularly, a separate lawyer to do investigations, a separate one to be a hearing officer. And so they're sharing this pool between the different boards. And so I just want to also point out that there are revolving funds in here that really are not going to go to the operations of much else in public health, except for those very limited purposes that I hope that those programs do not get impacted. I know the director now has to readjust his budget and submit to us how they're really going to carry this through. But it just highlights that, the 13 million is from the unspecified, operations. Okay, so the last amendment, Mr. Chair, thank you for your patience. It's on page 38, line 17. It's going to allow the Department of Public Health and Social Services is authorized to transfer funds in FY 2021 from the appropriations in section 1 of this chapter to fund the divisions and programs identified in all sections of this chapter. The amounts appropriated in sections 2, 3, and 9 of this chapter may not be transferred for any other purpose. We're locking down Medicaid and MIP and the carryover for Medicaid and MIP, and because we do not want them to use those for their operations. And that's the biggest chunk of, I think, what we're looking at here. But we said we have to lock it up because we want this money to get out to those who are in need. And so they're just going to have to make do with whatever's left, but I'm trying to give them flexibility again by allowing them to use all these appropriations. And I can't tell you, well, I guess, Director, we're going to trust you in this, right? To use your best judgment. And we're going to, this is one case, I think we're going to have to very much rely on the governor to transfer into this department with her 30% transfer authority, if that's how we end up at the end of this of these discussions. But again, so that would be my amendment, Mr. Chair, is to allow that transfer authority.
Yes, thank you, Senator Therese. Any of my colleagues would like to speak to that as Madam Speaker, and then Senator Lee?
Actually, Mr. Chair, if I could just ask that the amendment be posted in Zoom so that the colleagues can review it. I'm not sure the line or the page number.
It's page 38, line 17. Is it there?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair,
Amendments on page 38 in your file. So it's
I stand by, ladies.
there were two amendments, Mr. Chair. So one did not have section 9, and the one that she just said includes section 9. So I just wanted to make sure.
That's right.
All right, then one of them you have to discard of, and it will only reflect the Department of Public Health and Service is authorized to transfer and so forth and so forth. When it addresses in section 2, 3, and 9, I think that was the main thing. Correct, Senator Therese? That's what you wanted.
That's correct, and it has parentheses 4 in the title. That's the right one.
The 4 in parentheses.
Yeah, so line 17, page 38, parentheses 4. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Does everybody have that now? Can we confirm that everybody has the current one?
Parentheses 4?
In the title? Line 17, page 38, parentheses 4?
No,
is it uploaded?
I don't have any parentheses 4.
Third one. I don't see the parentheses 4.
Only after line 17, page 38 to add a section.
PDF title, in the PDF title.
Reiterate my request to have OFB just place it in the Zoom chat. It'll really help us
All right,
along.
Joe, can you put that in the Zoom chat so everybody can see that, please?
It's there now, Mr.
Yes, it has been noted.
Oh, okay, it's there now. And the parentheses 4, it's right there right now on the Zoom chat. It says SB 282 TMTL 17, page 38, parentheses 4, PDF. Can everybody see that now? Madam Speaker, did you want to speak to, has everybody got that? Senator Lee, can you see it now, ma'am? Okay, Madam Speaker, you wanted to speak to that?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I understand the intent of this amendment. It gives the opportunity for the director to take funds from any object category and transfer it to and from. And I'm going to ask the good author, would this include taking out from personnel budget? Because you do have the exception for Medicaid and Medicare, I mean, MIP and Medicaid. And then section 9 is the continuing authorization. So will this include taking from the salaries on personnel and utilities?
To be honest with you, Madam Chair, what we're trying to do is allow them flexibility in order to fund those things from any, yes, you're correct, to use in any other, I would actually like to ask that when we're done with this amendment, that to add on that legal be allowed to amend it, but that's the intent. It's exactly what you said, to allow any object categories at the discretion of the director. Yeah, from this appropriation.
Okay, so I understand the need and the concept. I'm just worried that there may be a division in the department that may be impeded because of the authorization and the situation that we're in today. So, Mr. Chair, I don't want to say that we're going through a dangerous precedent here. I want to say that this is very unorthodox, and I want to say that it has happened in the past. In the 7 previous terms, I think once or twice we've gone down this road, but that's why we literally take the time to take the budget that is allotted and try and at least do the specifics to make sure that every program or the division is at least appropriated to some sense of parity. So I'm going to just reserve my, I don't want to object to this. I just probably want to hear if any of my other colleagues see the concern. I'm just looking, just trying to vision this moving forward. And I understand what the author of this amendment is trying to do is give public health that flexibility, especially during this time. And I just want to make sure that all the other programs do not get impeded for that. So we really are between a rock and a hard place on this one. So
Madam
I'm just.
Speaker, that's the whole point. Every program is impacted, and it is. And so that's what, I don't know the answer either, and I'm not sure what you mean. I copied this language from other sections of the bill where we allow them to utilize, the funds. However, yeah, this is unusual because I want to be able to use.
Mr. Chair,
public health are not outlined here.
Okay, stand by, Senator Therese. Madam Speaker, can you be just clear of what you're asking?
No, Mr. Chair, I didn't need a response. I just wanted to share the perspective of the precedents that we'll be taking by doing this, knowing that we're going section by section on all the budgets. And like I said, I personally know that we are between a rock and a hard place. And it's the decision to decide. And I wanted to hear from my other colleagues, how are we going to thread on this amendment moving forward? So just know that and I want to bring up, I said for the record that, yes, this has happened in the past, but not very often. So I just want to make sure that, and I mean, what happens if God forbid, based on what's happening today, we have a even more serious crisis tomorrow or 1 October when the new fiscal year comes in and we'd have to deplete everything. I don't know. I literally am, from my heart, just really want to be cautious about this one. But I want to try and support the intent, but I also need to be very cautious. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi.
Madam Speaker, if we can get just a couple of minute recess. I'm on the phone with legal, so we can clear that. And I understand where Senator Therese is coming from. Just a quick recess, and let me get back on the phone with the legal. I want to make sure because I understand where Senator Therese is coming from. It's just allowing the flexibility.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Chair, before you get on with legal, I just have a point that I'd like to make, and maybe they can help to clarify this also during the recess.
All right. I want to keep the recess real short. We got public health here, and I want to get it over with. I get this done. Okay, go for it, Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you, my colleagues, and thank you for the people of Guam for your patience. On the amendment, I know that everyone, the speaker and Senator Lee brought up maybe the notwithstanding and so forth, and the question of the possible legality and the unprecedented. The legal has advised me, and exactly what Senator Teresa asked for, that if legal needs to make the correction, they will make the correction. They don't see any real issue at this point, but they will get with us and they will go over this amendment, but they don't see any real issue of it at this point. It's okay because it just basically secures that whatever's in section 2, 3, and 9 is not to be transferred. You can't move it around. It allows that section to do what it's intended to do. And I think that's what the concern of Senator Teresa was. And then allows the department to, from the appropriation section 1 of this chapter, to fund the division programs identified in the sections of this chapter. It's almost like a lump sum, but also protecting section 2, 3, and 9. All right, so I hope we have that understanding. Legal did give me that advice, and we can move on, and they'll make the legal corrections, whatever needs to be, and then give us the feedback, and then if we have to, we will readdress it. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just, also want to point out, so this is just the same language that was used in the University of Guam, the Guam Department of Education and the Judiciary. So I'm trying to keep it consistent, and that's all. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, is there any other discussion we need to do on this amendment? Looking for a hand.
Senator,
I don't.
May I just say something regarding Senator Talai? Yes, regarding Senator Talai's amendment, I just want to note that when you're giving full flexibility to the director, remember that the 4 funds, restricted funds, are only specifically for those programs.
That's right.
So like environmental health, licensure and stuff like that, you cannot use those funds for any other program within public health other than those programs. I just wanted to point that out.
No, I agree with you. That's what I'm trying to point out to you earlier. All these licensing funds and those funds are revolving funds, a lot of them.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
so they're not even in here. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, okay. Senator Torres, ma'am, on the amendment, and then if no one else have any other comments, we can close this and vote on it. Senator Torres, please.
Mr. Chairman, I understand the intent, but I think also what this really is giving them essentially an authorization that's the equivalent of a lump sum budget. And while we were very specific in budgets past of allocating monies for items like, for example, child protective services, the foster care group home, the foster care insurance. So under this scenario, arguably, public health has the discretion to not fund or carry forward things that this body, was very specific to ensuring that they be funded and stood up. So, for discussion purposes, is that correct? That when you have that blanket, that full authority, a blanket authority, that you can pretty much pick and choose what falls off and what doesn't. So in essence, we're appropriating things, but the discretion is really not ours to dictate where we desire the money to go by law, but how you deem you will carry it forward based on your prerogative, really. And I would tend to agree with the speaker that this is unless you want to just say do what you can with what you have, then you're not really doing a service to the child protective services or the foster care home or the foster care children that need insurance. And that's all I'm bringing up. So I do have issues with this. And I think also the governor's transfer authority allows her to take care of the agencies as is needed and as has been done in the past. So, there's many parts to this, and no disrespect, Senator Terlahi. I mean, I also worked very hard to try and find something for all of us to help public's, health. But I think in this case, there are many levels that either we decide aren't that important and don't even bother, or we say at the minimal, we appropriate these amounts for them. So I have an issue with this amendment.
Okay. I saw another hand waved, and that, I think it was Senator Kelly. You raised your hand, ma'am. No? Does anyone else like to comment on this before we go to vote, or ask for close for Senator Therese on this one, so we can wrap this one up real quick? Senator Therese?
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I understand the concerns, and they're very valid. But I, as I said earlier, there are revolving funds that, you know, they have very specific purposes. I don't think that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the little money that's left over for operations. In FY20 budget, 27.4 million of the 56.3 million was dedicated for a specific use. That's 49%. But in today's budget, 78%, that's 41 million of the 52.8 million is earmarked or dedicated for a specific use. That's why we keep talking about the shortfall in operations. And I'm just trying to give them flexibility because we tied up 78%. If I could use that example of the CPS, the appropriation, you see the divisions of public health are not lined up in here. They're not even mentioned. This is a lump sum budget. That's what we're giving them, except for the 78% that we've tied up in these special things. And we've only tied up 127, for example, for Child Protective Services, or sorry, 114. That is not at all their budget. Their budget's much higher than that. This was just one special appropriation that we put in one of the past fiscal years. That's not the CPS budget. I'm talking about the CPS budget and the whole BOSA budget and all of it, that how they have to be able to, yes, because when they're short in CPS, I don't want them to live that way. I don't want them to come back to the legislature and tell us we didn't take care of those kids because we're short. They're short on foster care. They've told me, they've showed me some figures that they will be short in those areas. And if we can't lay them all out and mandate them all here, we've gave them a lump sum budget. And so I'm just saying, we have to trust them to take care of people with this budget. We're going to, and if they spend money they're not supposed to spend, like they don't get this foster care group home done, then by all means, let's call them in there and let them account for it. But what if they tell you that the reason they didn't do that, I don't know what, I can't even imagine a reason. So I don't expect one. I expect them to do their job as best as possible, but I just don't want them to get tied up with a technicality that they couldn't fund CPS, because we have not CPS.
Can I just request then that we at least be very specific that this is part 2, because I think that it can be read broadly and maybe spill over into other areas. So if you can insert part 2 so it's crystal clear, it's just this section, chapter 3, part 2, all that, then I think that at least the damage is contained.
All right, Senator Therese, are you amendable to that?
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Chair. Yes.
Okay, we're at 5 o'clock, and I wanted us to recess until 7. Do we have a problem with that? We won't need Art and Agustin and Tom no more, or Ms. Archangel. I think we're pretty much good. We just want to protect your assets, unless Senator Therese, you want them to come back and hear the vote, because I think it's going to pass.
Oh no! If we could just vote on this right now, we could dismiss the public health and thank them for all their work. And it's a big day for them, Mr. Chair. I think I would like them to be relieved, please.
Yes, but you want to put the word part 2 to protect, so that this is not the full extent of each section that you mentioned.
Yeah.
If you could, please.
If you look at my amendment, it says section 2, part 2 of chapter 3 of the bill. Is that what you meant, Senator? And I was going to ask, just we've often allowed legal to just make that technical change based on the record.
And all I'm saying is just make the technical change in the body of the amendment, and that.
Okay, we'll do. Can we just allow legal to do that, please, colleagues, and we just vote on this right now?
Is everybody in agreement to that, please, so we can move on? I know Senator Lee was waving at me. Senator Moylan was waving. Senator Lee, do you have any objection to that? If not, legal will make that amendment within the body, because that's the intent of what we're voting on.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and that's what I tried to explain. I think we went off of recess, but I don't think that the mover of this amendment is intending that the DPHSS director has control or transfer over to GIPWIC or GMHA or DISID. And so we need
Right,
to be.
that's correct.
And so that's why I would appreciate if, we take our recess to clarify this amendment and then we can address it very clearly after the break.
Right, okay, Senator Therese, if we can handle it there, our legal is ready to make the changes, okay? So there's not an issue there.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we have public health here right now, so I think, voting on this would be perfect because we're not going to get them after the break.
No, I didn't expect them to come back anyway, but when we do vote on it, we understand what we're gonna make the change on, and they're well aware that they know what our intent is, and everybody's in agreement with this. It's just a matter of seeing that, and Senator Therese already asked for legal to make the changes and make the amendments.
Mr. Chair, then if I
So
could just
there's no problem with that one.
I would do it myself if I could just read it to you. It's going to say, the Department of Public Health and Social Services is authorized to transfer funds in fiscal year 2021 from the appropriations in section 1 of this chapter 3 of this part 2 to fund the divisions and programs identified in all sections of this chapter.
Does that make sense, my colleagues? I see that corrects it. Senator Lee?
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, if we're going to be allowed to make these on-the-fly amendments and not have them submitted to you in writing, then we just need to allow some flexibility for all of our colleagues to be able to do that going forward.
Okay, Senator Therese, just send it to me.
I am absolutely. My staff is sending it to you right now as we speak, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Simple,
All right,
yeah.
thank you. Okay, why don't we just wait a couple of minutes? Art,
right now.
Tom, you can go. You know what we're gonna do. Ready? We're gonna vote on it. I think everybody's in support of it. You don't need to hold on. Please take care and God bless you, Primo. Tommy, take care. Okay, Art.
Thank you.
We just wait a couple minutes. Maybe.
I put it on the chat. I put it on the.
Okay, you already put it on the chat. And we make the correction, please. And you're right. I don't want us to work on the fly. We want to get this done and we can move on. Thank you. If everyone could see that, I'd appreciate it. It's 5:04. I'm looking at it on my phone. Part funds, appropriation, 39, part 2 of this chapter. Part 2 of chapter 3 of part 2. Am I correct? Is that how we wanted to read? Chapter 3 of part 2.
Are you
Within the body.
Mm-hmm. Did you get my amendment, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, and I think that's what I got. I just got I got a recording on my phone as 5:04, but I just wanted to double check.
And I uploaded it to the Zoom chat for everyone. What I just uploaded is her amendment from the WhatsApp chat.
Is that the amended one? No.
The last one you sent that says revised at 5:04 p.m. Unless you have one more revision. I can do it again.
Sorry,
it's quick.
Yeah, that's not the one. Sorry. Yeah. Just bear with me.
Okay.
If you send it to the chat again, I can do it quickly.
Yes, I think it's supposed to say on the first line, from appropriation of section 1 of this chapter 2, 3, or part 2 to fund the division, the amount appropriates to section 2, 3, and 9 of this chapter, I guess chapter 3, part 2 may not be transferred. I think that's what we need to just show those two parts written in chapter 3 and part 2, and then on the next line, chapter 3 of part 2, and then that would clear that up.
Just let me just make sure.
All right, I appreciate it. And then my colleagues, we will recess until 7 p.m. All right. And then when we come back, we'll more than likely we will be on behavioral, if I'm correct. I'm looking at my chat. Yeah, Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. All right.
No show from BBMR or DOA, right? Status quo?
No show today. Shelter in place, like we're all doing right now. We're all shelter in place now. Okay, is that the one up now, Senator Therese? It said SB 282FA 26TMT.PDF. Would that be the one, or?
That was just received, sir, on the drive.
Okay, it says here you go, Senator. So I don't know. Okay, I've got one. I'm hoping we all have the same thing. I'll read it out loud so that everybody knows. And then, if you want, the Transfer Authority of the Department of Public Health Service, the Department of Public Health Service, Health and Social Service authorized to transfer funds in fiscal year 2021 from appropriations in Section 1 of this Chapter 3, Part 2, to fund the division programs identified in all sections of this chapter. The amounts appropriate in Section 2, 3, and 9 of this chapter may not be transferred for any other purpose than set forth in these sections. Would that meet the requirement? I think it was very specific, Senator Torres. You wanted specifically to identify that it's Part 2 of this chapter, not to include everything else off the requirements of public health. Am I correct?
Yes, because what we don't want is for anybody to look at it and say, well, chapter is chapter 3 and chapter 3 extends beyond part 2. That's all I'm pointing out.
Yes,
It can be
okay.
read that way. So
I think we're,
yeah.
yes, legal said that they'll work whatever they need to. They looked at it and they don't see a real problem. Whatever they have to tweak, they'll just tweak it. But they all understand the intent.
Yeah, got it. Okay, let's do a small C.
Thank you. Senator Therese, are we good to go now? Everybody's good to go, and we can go ahead and call the roll call and we move on, please?
Yes, Senator Amanda, can you upload the one I sent on our phone chat onto here, please? If you can, thank you. Thanks. All right.
Senator, the last post on the Zoom chat by Mika is the last one we received.
Yeah, I think that's right. Check.
That reflects the changes that you made. Thank you.
Oh. Yeah, no, ignore that one. Use the next one.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can you please just take a recess so we can lock this amendment down, make sure that everything's good to go, make sure legal has it available, and then we can vote on it after?
It's really just 2 words, Mr. Chair. I have to also, behavioral health is the next budget. That's also one of my committees. I would like to just concentrate on that when we're done here. Yeah, okay, I can't, sorry. I can't get back.
I don't know if that's the right one. Let me check again.
Mr. Chair, while we're trying to fix that, could I just
It's sent to the committee now. Joe, you got it? Joe Mesnon?
Could I just offer a question to the author of the amendment?
Okay, do we have that amendment now and we're good to go now and we can open up the discussion real quick?
If we can have
Senator
Talahi to read it again, just one more time before we start, just if you want to discuss it again, but I thought we were done discussing and we're just going to vote. But just to make sure that we are looking at the one that she wants out. So appreciate if you read it again.
I added an extra part 2 anyway, so that's good. Okay, so it's going to read the Department of Public Health Social Services authorized to transfer funds in fiscal year 2021 from the appropriation in Section 1 of Part 2 of this chapter to fund the divisions and programs identified in all sections of Part 2 of this chapter. And then the final sentence, amounts appropriated in sections 2, 3, and 9 of Part 2 of this chapter may not be transferred for any other purpose than set forth in those sections.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, colleagues, for your patience. Yes.
All right, now we can open, Senator Lee, you wanted to ask a question, and then we can wrap this one up.
I apologize for dragging this out, but there's, one part of DPHSS that I've always tried to look out for, and that's CPS. And so I'd just like to ask the mover of this amendment if we could also add section 15 to the, that list. So it would read, the amendment would now read section, sorry. It's
239, 15?
239 and 15, and because, CPS appropriation is simply a floor. It's just an allocation. So this would theoretically authorize taking from that. And I just would sleep better at night knowing that that CPS is kind of added to this list of exceptions.
All righty, Senator, anyone else? And we're gonna close this up. Senator Therese, do we have any objection to adding the number 15 on it, section 15?
I'm not going to object to that, Mr. Chair, but I'm just going to say again, the budget doesn't outline all the divisions of public health. So it doesn't show BOSA, it doesn't show CPS. CPS's budget, thankfully, is much, much higher. This is just the one position that was added on at one time. So I don't have any objection, but there's no way takes care of CPS. Yeah, it's a CPS is what we're worried about. That's my concern. Mm-hmm.
All right, Senator Lee, do you have any objection to that? 114,000 is all it's asking for.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's really just one position.
Inform the body that we're also waiting on an additional, I think, $100,000 from GITA. It was a previous bill that I had authored in a previous term, and we're still waiting for some of that money to come into CPS. So I understand that, and I've been advocating for this part of the agency for many years now, and so we're continuing to put the pressure and making sure that they get that money. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So, my colleagues, can we move to the vote? Are we okay now, and we can move to the vote?
Mr. Chair, we're voting on Senator Lee's amendment to the Terlahi amendment.
No, Senator Lee, did you want to still continue with adding number 15? Only because it's not a big part. It's only 114. It's one position, I think, or 1.5.
Yes, please. And if you want me to submit it in writing, I can do that.
Okay, if you can quickly just add it, number 15 on it real quick, and then we can get it out. And then
for legal to make that correction, I'm fine with that as well.
Okay. Senator Therese?
Can you just repeat that? What? I'm sorry. Legal is going to make that technical change, that to the one more section. Is that right?
To add 15.
Yeah.
To add
it's just to add the number 15. That's all it's going to be. I'll work that with my people. We'll add the number 15. If that's only two numbers, not a problem. 1-5, not a problem. All right. Are we good now, my colleagues? Okay, we're going to move to vote.
Mr.
And
Chair,
it's inclusive of the number 15. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Can I add a comma, please, after the word divisions, and allow legal to do that for us?
Transfer appropriated from fund the divisions, comma, and programs?
Yes.
You want a comma after divisions?
Because not all the divisions are identified here. Yeah, so.
Okay.
But they're identified in section 1. I mean, they're not identified. Sorry, they're not identified at all.
Add a comma, and then we're going to strike the and put a comma after 3, and a comma after 9, or no comma after 9, and word the word and then number 15. Am I correct?
Yes.
All right, my colleagues, are we good now? Are we comfortable and ready to vote on this? And we can move on, please. Okay? Thank you. No hands waved. Joe, let's call the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the Therese Talahi amendment as amended, on line 17, page 38, Chairman San Agustin.
Aye.
Chairman San Agustin, aye. Vice Chair Rangel.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rangel, aye. Vice Chair Shelton.
Hungan.
Vice Chair Shelton, aye. Speaker Munoz Barnes.
Hungan.
Speaker Munoz Barnes, aye. Senator Lee.
Hungan.
Senator Lee, aye. Senator Therese Talahi.
Again.
Senator Therese Talahi, aye. Senator Pedro Talahi.
Again.
Senator Pedro Talahi, aye. Senator Marsh Taitano.
Again.
Senator Marsh Taitano, aye. Senator Castro.
Again.
Senator Castro, aye. Senator Moreland.
Aye.
Senator Moreland, aye. Senator Munoz.
Again.
Senator Munoz, aye. Vice Speaker Nelson.
Again.
Vice Speaker Nelson, aye. Senator Perez.
Again.
Senator Perez, aye. Senator Torres.
Again.
Senator Torres, aye. Senator Taitagui.
Again.
Senator Taitagui, aye. Mr. Chair, you have 15 ayes on this amendment.
Thank you, my colleagues. The motion passed. We will recess until 7 p.m. and then we will continue until by 10 o'clock as allowed by law, up to 10 p.m. Okay, so we'll start at 7 and we'll continue on. We'll be at Guam Behavioral. All right, thank you.